Well, I guess without further ado, we'll properly intro in everybody here. Hello, everybody. Welcome tonight on this, well, for at least in the Western Hemisphere, it's a Saturday. If you're coming to us from in the Eastern Hemisphere, excuse you,
Wow.
Sunday, September 19th or 20th, depends. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Demon's Souls remake and all the hype, all of the concern, and all of the nerd stuff that we would talk about this upcoming, this upcoming game, which is a old familiar game to some, to a few, but to practically everybody else, it's basically a new Souls game. With me tonight we have Astri.
Hello, all.
Scorched
Greetings.
Knight. And Knight of Green.
Hello.
Oh. The reason why we've all congregated tonight is because these three are big Demon's Souls nerds. I am also here. but we're all going to talk about everything that we've seen and everything that we hope to see. And we're actually going to start off with this little link that I have opened right here. So you know how this this game that's not even out yet, there was this picture that came out for the Demon's Souls remake pre-order, where for whatever reason somebody had this picture. I think it was Lance McDonald who had this picture about how if you pre-ordered Demon's Souls, there would be a right here, a Reaper's Scythe pre-order bonus weapon that would be coming with it, right?
Yeah, FPS Man's actually right that apparently that pre-order bonus is actually gone.
It's apparently gone now. So who knows if who knows if it's a pre-order bonus or if it's just going to straight up be a new weapon for everybody to try out. But the funniest thing that we found before we started the stream tonight, y'all, was on Vextra Life, somebody already went ahead and made a lore page for it already. None of the stats are there. It's all in question marks, right? They still have it marked as obtained as a pre-order bonus, but they made lore text for it. And they're so sure it's going to be a pole arm that it's going to be buffable and it's doing slashing damage. People are very excited. We get that. Very, very, very excitable for this game that I now have on screen, the announcement trailer that I'll just play through here.
Before we start,
this original...
I just want to point out, this is Vextra Life we're talking about. Probably not the best source of information. They just have a tendency of copying and pasting whatever they feel like anyway. So
for sure. Yeah,
that was probably a fan-made page, and they got way ahead of themselves. But let us move on.
They're all excited like the rest of us, I'm sure. But before leading up to this summer in June, did any of us have an inkling of hope or suspicion that a remake for Demon's Souls would be coming out?
I did not.
I did. I think by virtue of the fact that, okay, this is about the time that a new console is supposed to be coming out, and what would get the hype up outside of a Demon's Souls remake. We already got the treatment for other Souls games, so I was like, Bluepoint also did Shadow of the Colossus, and so I was like, what's another game that's like that PS, old game that people want to see? So I was thinking I was like a hint that it might
come. For me, there's some things I found a little suspicious as well, like the fact they closed all the servers for online Demon's Souls all at the same time, considering they're all being headed by different they're all published differently, if you know what I mean, for different regions. It was a little weird that they all like, okay, we're all going to close the server at the same time. I don't know. Just seemed a little
Mhm.
suspicious.
One might have thought that it was just the at the end of the game's lifespan. One might think, but then it turns out no, the lifespan would only continue
So
onward.
regarding the server shutdown, I think it was reasonable to look at it as them shutting it down because there wasn't enough activity, and that in itself is justified. But the reason that it was so inactive is because they didn't maintain the server and it was practically unplayable online. So at the Demon Souls Discord, our understanding of it was it's very likely they're only shutting it down because they see low activity numbers and they don't want to keep putting money into this server to keep it going for hardly anyone playing anymore. It didn't make sense financially. It doesn't make sense practically.
True.
So are people still on the Dark Souls original servers for PS, like 3, Xbox, and PC?
Those are around, yes.
Yes, I played last year on Dark Souls 1, and it was still somewhat active.
Okay, so
Remaster. Yeah, Remaster kind of messed with it, though. Because it split the player base. Split it right down the middle. So
put a funnel in front of the gas tank, and now all the fuel's going
I know
that way.
quite a few DS1 people, and they even said that. Like, the Remaster, like, basically killed, Dark Souls 1 online activity.
Yeah, and no new players going to Prepare to Die edition anymore. It's definitely remastered because that's the one that's the listing. They delisted the original and now replaced it. So now that we bring up this surprise, the surprise present that showed up during the PS5 reveal, during summer, and in the meantime we were all hoping for Never Ring, as we come to calling it, right? But this was just as surprising, the trailer itself. And as someone who knows Demon Souls very heavily from its reputation, seeing a hollow like this dangling upside down, I knew immediately what it was. But I saw all the other old timers suddenly lose their collective shit, and next thing you know, it was on. But the most important piece from this remake was at the end, or did they? No, they replaced it and put it at the beginning this time. But Bluepoint is now at the helm of this remake, and why so many people were excited for it. Some people were even like whisper murmuring, right, that they would be working on something like this, and everyone's like, you're full of shit. Until suddenly we realized, wait a minute, Bluepoint was the same fellers that worked on this released it 3 years ago. They were probably working on it for longer. In fact, some sources claim that they were working on Demon Souls just after finishing Shadow of the Colossus remake for PS4. Oh, by the way, I actually didn't notice this, but Japan Studio was also helping them out with Shadow of the Colossus as well. But seeing this remake 3 years ago was such a big shocker for some, but now Bluepoint is coming back. Everything we know about the remake of Shadow of Colossus was that it did so many things to the game, and that kept it authentic while upping the fidelity, the resolution, and the frame rate, while also the necessary improvements for the gameplay, like making better controls. You can change that now. Now these colossal boss fights that you're engaging in don't suffer from frame drops, as now we can hope that the dragon fight in Demon Souls won't dip to 4 frames. But other big questions where they didn't tweak with Shadow of the Colossus all that much, they just more so are like, hey, we're going to leave this game the same as is because that's what it is. Demon Souls, on the other hand, can't have that same luxury of saying, oh, we're just going to make this game look more beautiful. No, they have to go back to this game and change a couple of things, because there are quite a few things that aren't up to snuff. And I believe if we just start talking about those things now, we'd trail off into a several thousand things. Let's just talk about the stuff that they have shown us with the gameplay. Because that is probably the biggest part right now. With what they've shown us so far, with the gameplay in the most recent trailer this past week, for you three, are you more excited or are you more nervous now from what you've seen? And why? We'll start with Scorched first.
Honestly, at first there was a couple things that I thought looked a little off, but overall I'm more excited about it than anything. It's from the ground up, so a lot of the old issues are not going to be there. I mean, obviously that presents a new a new situation where some things might be, for better or worse, not as original. But I'm more excited than anything, honestly. I think from what I've seen, and it seems like Blue Point is also listening, as we saw with the Flame Lurker. They changed I know we don't want to get into that too much yet, but they kind of changed the design back more to the original. So I think that's a good indication that they're listening, obviously. Overall, I'm fairly pleased with what I saw. There's a couple of things like I think hearing the character heavy breathing the whole time is a little much, but and there's certain impacts, like right now, as you can see, like on the footage with the shield. I don't know, the impact seems a little light, but I think overall everything looks really good.
Gotcha. Green, if you want to go next.
Yes. So I really do like a majority of the things that they did show us. Like especially with the beginning, how they showed the ledge climb to get down to the bottom area of the tutorial. I thought that was a neat little introduction to that mechanic that you really did not see often happen in the game, and you sometimes just forgot you could do that. So introducing it early on, because they changed that one section, so instead of just dropping down, you climbed over. Again, I think that was I would say a needed change, so you can be reminded, oh yeah, I can do that.
So they actually did have a vaulting mechanic in the original. It was just
they did
kind of obscure because you had to know what surface you could walk
you
toward
could do it on, yeah.
enough to vault.
Yeah, but in the tutorial, the original tutorial, you just fell down on that little section. In the remake, they put that plank where you can vault over. Yeah, I'm just saying that because you might not have known, like for example, the Strava vault. Like if you had no idea you can vault, you probably wouldn't have found him in that area unless you like accidentally like walked on it. But
alternatively, you could just roll off the stairs to go over.
And then go over, yeah. So there were some things that because I'm thinking like there's like only like a handful of vaults. Like I know there was the vault in Tower of Latria to get back up after getting that one item on the ledge. There's the vault in Shrine of Storms where you had to walk back up where you're gonna get bombarded by like stingrays. There's like hold on, I think there's like one other one, Ostrava. I already talked about that one. There's like one other one I think somewhere. There's some in Valley of Defilement with rickety houses. What would we call
there
that?
are a couple in Shrine of Storms as well.
Yeah, but definitely. Getting back on track. Definitely was happy that they introduced that mechanic in the tutorial, so you have it for later. I'm not for sure how I feel, so I'm not for sure if when he teleported to the next part of the tutorial, if that's going to be accurate in terms of like load times when we actually get the game. I guess it's a good thing in terms of like staying in gameplay, but I kind of like the load screens, like Bior reverse gripping a katana, even though he doesn't do that in the game. But
hey, nice comparison, Jam.
Yeah, I just like looking back on this now. Wow, that is such a facelift. And considering what they did here, what I was just saying, going off of what Green was saying, it is exciting to wonder if they were able to do this at this point in time, at other intervals in the game, stuff that may have been inconvenient or stuff that would have had been more fleshed out, would Bluepoint take that initiative just to add maybe one or two things to bring out the level in such a way, like with this, with like you would never think that just adding a wooden fence like there would get players thinking, oh wait, I could vault over things like this. The next thing you know, they're traversing that first area much more so than they would have if this wasn't there. But you know, I don't think we did hear Astry's view on this. Are you excited or worried based on this initial trailer that they've shown us, the new vaulting feature, the combat animations and graphics?
Okay,
as well?
so I'm going to start with the vault. I think that unless someone has seen this trailer or seen someone do it, they're not going to know that they can vault over that. So players are going to have to wander around, and they're probably going to end up backtracking and trying to figure out if they missed something, and they're ultimately going to have to find it. I think if they do what they did in the original with ghosts, like NPC ghosts that show you what to do, then overall that's going to make it so that they know what to do. They did that in many places. Yeah, or a message too, but I think a better way to do it is the ghost, because you don't have to read a message to see what the ghost is doing and know what to do. Going to combat, it seems like the character is slower moving, like they have slower forward momentum, and the only thing that seems to have really changed, though, that is worrisome is the fact that weapons seem to be more responsive. They're faster, and that might not necessarily be a good thing, because as we see in the trailer, he just holds his shield up and then he punishes the draglings with almost instantaneous follow-up to the block. And if they have something like that in PvP, which, you know, that's definitely something to look at here. If they have that in PvP, then we're going to end up with a very reactive PvP scheme. Mostly players holding up a shield and then just reactively attacking when an attack bounces off. And I think that's going to differ greatly from the style of Demon Souls, which was mostly be aggressive, but then, you know, you could also be strategic with the shield, but if you tried to hold your shield up and then attack, there's a bit of a delay, so you potentially risk taking a hit without actually getting your attack in.
That is a good worry, though. Rewarding passive play too much might lead to a very well, one might even say stale gameplay style.
Yeah.
Compared to what it might have been there in the original. Oh well, I'm watching. Dang it, Fighting Cowboys playing two-handed, so he can't really get a good, feasible look
I
at
also
him.
want to talk a bit about shields real quick. If you go back to that part where the main character is fighting the Blue Eyes Knight, and they're holding the shield up. The Blue Eyes Knight can normally guard break you quite easily. That shield bash right there, one hit of that is basically taking your whole stamina bar. So if they buffed shields,
but
that's
I don't
extremely worrisome.
I don't think it might be that they buffed the shield. I think it might be the player character they were used was like a max level or high, because he was one-shotting the Blue Knights through a block with a two-handed longsword. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. That's something I was gonna mention actually when Astrid was saying that was, I don't know, this is on them, but it's such a weird way to like showcase gameplay. Like, look, bro, you can just one shot everything. Like, that's not how it's gonna play. Like, you're not just gonna one shot everything. At least I'd hope you're not gonna one shot everything.
Especially
you know what I mean?
Shield.
Yeah.
They're playing the players real hard, because this is they're giving themselves lofty expectations about how this
we're basically
first
playing in
run
God
will go
mode right now. You know. Like,
until he dies, and then it's like, oh hey, there's the you died screen. We all
it's
saw
just
that.
making the showcase like just blocking everything, and then he two hands his sword and then blocks like 5 attacks or some shit
without getting guard broken. You're like,
yeah, it's just a weird thing to showcase, in my opinion. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, I think like real big nerds, real fans and lifers will nitpick over small stuff like that. But they were, I feel, giving them a benefit of the doubt. They wanted to show off. Oh, hey, look at this entire tutorial level that we've
for sure,
redone in the new style. And I feel like that's what was having us go like, oh man, look at that. Oh man, look at the new armor the Blue Knights have. Oh, look at the dragon on the bridge. So, they definitely had certain goals in mind of what they wanted to show, for sure. But again, the worry is still there, just like what Astri said before, was if they changed the mechanics such that using a shield is actually incredibly beneficial with like more positives than there are negatives, and the Blue Knights aren't, bashing your shield open, because those Blue Knights were supposed to there's always, FromSoft has always been smart about their enemy placements and teaching you new things. They're teaching you at first of like how to get used to pressing the R1 and how to get used to holding up block like so, which is already happening in the trailer, right? Until later, they then introduce an enemy that's like, no, you can't block this enemy anymore. So now you got to think on your toes. You have to start using dodge a bit more. Maybe you have to back up, space them out a little bit. Maybe switch to your two hand to see if you can guard break them instead.
Well, that's why Flame Lurker is a wall.
I would hope
for new players, Flame Lurker is a wall because you can't just block everything. He guard breaks you and then he follows up and will kill you outright. He's just aggressive and powerful. And a lot of players who are coming into the game thinking the shield's going to carry them all the way through, because it does through the first couple levels. It's a really harsh reality for them to accept, and a lot of players quit at that point. So I think that if by showing what they're showing with shields being as powerful as they are, it's kind of a misleading to anyone who's getting hyped up about the game, because you're not going to be able to do that unless they really severely imbalance gameplay to favor shield play.
The shield.
Yeah, and didn't they show a scene of the dude going up to the red dragon on the bridge and trying to block the
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I honestly think they're trolling new players at this point. Like, yeah, do this with the shield, do that. Blue Point. I think Blue Point knows exactly what they're doing. In terms of stylistically and perhaps also mechanically, I would hope that they'd be paying attention to the past games that From Software has made and know how to strike that balance with the shield and the enemies that you fight. Again, this is all that we've just seen, and we're already nitpicking like the balance of using a shield, like a sword and board. But there's other things that would need to be addressing that is beyond the scope of even this gameplay. That's just sticking to the base armor set, which by the way looks like, is it me or did they change it to look more fluted? Is that just me from this angle? I paused it.
It still looks the same to me.
It kind I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I don't think they really. I hear what you're saying, but
duckbill in the original, it was a duckbill.
Yeah, I mean,
rest assured, the original fluted knight set was pointy, like so pointy you could cut yourself just looking at it. But this one, they seem to have dialed back the pointiness.
In my opinion, I think the only serious downgrade I've seen in this remake so far, like through the trailer, is the fluted. I would have said Flame Lurker, but they fixed that.
They fixed a lot of them, yeah. I don't know.
It's funny that you say fixed. I'm actually genuinely curious if Flame Lurker looks like this when you get halfway through the boss, and like you're beating them up real good.
So into the second phase, looking like
in the original, he basically sets himself on fire. He becomes more aggressive, and he is more fiery as you fight him. So that is definitely something to consider. It might be his armor falling off,
and he looks like his original design. Actually, that would be a very nice stylish choice.
I think so too.
Because because originally he looks like what many called him to be a Diablo demon.
Yeah.
And until many people wanted that iconic, like, wow, you are just messed up looking kind of look that From Software tends to give their bosses. Like there tends to be no bosses that you'd find that look like this, or no bosses that you'd find that would look like the one Reborn, or like other like amalgamations of demons or otherwise. But let's see. So this is all that we've been shown to us, besides him easily cutting through PvE and eventually making it to our big boy. The first big boy that stops you says, "No, wait, you can't play this game just yet. You need to try again." Teeth not as big as they used to be, but his eyes are burning, giving off this fog.
Yeah, because I know that
which is such a nice touch.
That definitely
honestly
plays the lore how the demons are supposed to be spreading it. And a vanguard, by definition, are supposed to be like the forerunners, the individuals that sort of like start off events. So them bleeding out the fog is kind of like, oh, okay, reading up on the lore.
That follows.
Yeah, but I agree with that design choice too. Did anyone notice the udders on the front of Vanguard?
I don't even. That's though
kind of Eldritch
I don't know what to call those, but
I think they might be taking a little bit too much inspiration from Lovecraft here, because it kind of looks like a Lovecraft monster at this point.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, the what FPS man posted with the mouth on the back and such.
What happens if you if I go and there's a specific point that we can actually see the new mouth on the back of Vanguard, which is going to be right about there. You can see a mouth and a tongue. Many people are curious if this is just aesthetics to, add to the creature, or will this mouth on the back have a new attack? Which raises the question of, oh, hey, this leads us to our new topic of, are they going to be changing anything about, say, the PvE? Because there are some bosses that are perhaps a bit lacking, some bosses that are a bit one note, right? Would they maybe bring out the movesets of said bosses, or add an extra surprise that wasn't there before, while still keeping the boss as it was? And this new mouth on the back might point to that, or it is just like, oh, hey, we got a funny mouth with a tongue back there, because why not?
Shoot.
I guess anyone can answer that. Is that something that y'all are hoping for in this remake, is perhaps new PvE changes rather than, or leaving it quote unquote authentic?
So for me, when looking at it, so okay, I'm just gonna be kind of biased. I like doing the moveset. So if they like change some of the boss's movesets, then like Penetrator and a lot, then like, ooh, I can start trying to make those movesets. So that's just my bias. So I would like to see new things, but I guess a part of me does want it to stay authentic, because it's like, okay, you want the new people who never got to experience the original Demon Souls to experience it as best as they can. But I don't know, like, something that's bothered me is that camera angle. Like, I don't know, it's just off to me.
Oh, how close it is.
I agree. I think it's too close, especially if it's going to have PvP. It's going to be way too close, because if you are fighting 3 or 4 players in a gank, or them just running through the game, even, it would be very easy to get surrounded or to lose track of where you are, and potentially run into environmental hazards like fire or off a cliff or something like that.
So like on screen right now, we have the perspective as it was before, and he's fighting the Vanguard, which it kind of leaves you back quite a ways with your player out before you. But if we were to look, yeah, that
the field of vision is significantly closer.
They might have.
And I also wonder if they've adjusted that specifically for the trailer as well. That's what I was just going to say.
They might have done that only for cinematic value, like that may have only been done just for that, just for the trailer specifically. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say whether or not, without seeing, more gameplay.
But that's one of the that's also the biggest thing that's on Bluepoint's shoulders, is it's really up to them to make sure that the camera angles aren't being like distorted by the cameras, by the walls that you run into in the background, because that's some of the biggest issues that people have with Souls games, Bloodborne, Sekiro, you name it, is that camera just suddenly getting stuck on the wall in the back. And no matter the new settings that FromSoft just try to put in, auto recovery from walls, you try to turn that on, it doesn't really help. Then next thing you know, we still have issues here. So I wonder if they found a solution for that, and maybe if that solution is just by making the camera further in. But here's another point to Astries, is he was saying that the camera angle being so small in PvP would not work. But I'm also curious, is because in some bosses, when you lock onto these bosses, the camera will actually zoom out, and I'm actually curious if they might. This is probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but I'm also curious if that there will be a different camera angle for when you engage with players, or maybe if you're in a different area. Maybe the reason why the camera is so close is because they're starting off in the tutorial, but the moment that you step foot in future worlds, suddenly that camera angle is getting back further and further back. I wonder if maybe the other gameplay is indicative of this. Maybe, well, the camera angle is still outwards when they show off you fighting the Tower Knight, him rolling and then him getting smashed
But it also
to the side,
might be him being locked onto him, because the Tower Knight, when you lock onto him, does give that really wide spatial angle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but here it is unlocked as well on the bridge, and that seems pretty far away as well.
That might be conditional, and so might be being locked on a boss. It might be a conditional depth of field change. Here it's quite close in Latria, and it seems pretty close in that Flame Lurker fight too.
Also, the Reaper fight in the Shrine of Storms, it also was pretty close.
Well, when he's backstabbing this feller, that's as close as can be. I've never gotten the camera to get so close after when I backstab someone. I always would try to turn it in such an angle to make it look like that.
That's why I think a lot of this is done. That's why I kind of believe a lot of this is done just for cinematic value. But I could be wrong, of course. But
right. My worry is that if they have conditional lock-on depth of fields, then we're going to end up with problems with unlocked play. I think that they really need to think about how they are adjusting the depth of fields to adjust for where you are in the level, and to also adjust for conditions. Like, for example, how many players are around you. If you're in tight and on your character because you're not locked on, you can't see anything that's going on around you, and that's going to potentially cause problems. Like, you can't lock onto everyone in a gank. You can't lock onto everyone in a random co-op party that you're invading. And, not having the ability to see around you is critical to your survival.
Because the camera would be in so close,
someone would just come up to your side,
distinct disadvantage,
and just wail on you, and you're like, oh, I would have seen you if it was.
Or they run up and backstab you.
Yeah.
So one solution that I have for the camera angle issue is that if they bring out the depth of field so that you can see further away from the character, see more around the character, and they're afraid of the camera getting stuck in walls and stuff like that, which has happened to me a billion times on like every single Souls game. They can do what they did in Persona 3. Have you ever played Persona 3? So
I think I know what you're about to say, because I believe maybe For Honor may have included this technique as well. But
so
continue.
you're basically going through the dungeon, and all of the walls that you're behind will turn transparent. If you do something like that for the camera, then that's going to solve camera issues. You're not going to get your camera stuck in a place where you just can't see. And I think that's something that a lot of developers need to really think about when they're making games like this.
Though, wouldn't that affect traversal? Like, I know there were certain hidden areas that could unlock from breaking like boxes or bookshelves. That if you had that trick, then you would be able to see through the walls and see, oh, I can actually walk through here. So how would that affect exploration then?
I think, again, it would have to be conditional. I think they would have to make it so that it is only under certain circumstances, like if you're backed up against a wall, or if your camera goes behind
solely locked on.
behind something and then you can't see your character. Yeah, being locked on, that would be another thing potentially. Like there's an area in Shrine of Storms in 4.2 where you're on a cliffside and you have one of the rolling skeletons come up to you. If you are locked on and facing it and it gets on the cliffside with your back to the wall, the camera's going to get stuck in the wall and you're not going to be able to see anything that's going on. You're just going to die.
Yeah.
Now, I also want to bring this up as well, Astri. Now that we're here talking about camera angles, Sane actually posted a picture of Witcher 3 quote-unquote trailer footage, and we're going to compare... This was their debut gameplay trailer on E3 2013 with a camera angle that is actually vastly different from if you play the game yourself.
I played the whole game. It's nothing like that, really.
Where you're out like this, wolves surrounding you. Well, okay, so this fight against the beast right here is probably the closest looking to it. Maybe this
even
one
then,
as well,
that's kind of close. Like,
but then when you're actually there in the game, the camera is out, circling around the head, making sure that the player is has their entire surrounding as focused as focused as the player can perceive it, is probably the best way to put it. And that's probably exactly what we're seeing here in this gameplay trailer. Is what we said earlier is that what they want to show off is the changes to the world, and the only way to do that is by bringing it in close, showing off the fidelity of the armor, of the environment, like the little bits and pieces that they added, the sacks, the crates, the wood, the ropes on the wood. When they kill them, the camera gets also very close to every enemy that you kill, as their lifeless body becomes a ragdoll on the ground, which I'm very curious also about the ragdoll system in this game and how aggressive it might be. If you can suddenly make them fling each other all over the place, that's wondrous. Oh, you could also like see the grimace of the soldier you're fighting as they're trying to swing and attack. That just breathed attention to detail as well. This is probably, again, this is as much as that we've seen for the PvE and what we might expect for future bosses going forward. I know that a couple of players have voiced their opinions about how if future bosses do not have different movesets, then they would be severely discouraged from giving this game more than one playthrough or even buying the game at all. Because it would effectively be the same game, but say if they added something different to, say, the Dragon God, say if they added something different to even the Vanguard as well, maybe even give them just one new special something, like what would happen to the Black Knights in Dark Souls 3 compared to Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 1, they were parry bait, backstabbed bait. All of their attacks were slow, and that you could either block or just run away from. Saint Riot doesn't know this, though, because he kept getting killed by Black Phantoms the other day. But when Dark Souls 3 came around, people assumed, like, oh, hey, this is the same enemy that we've parried and backstabbed time and time again, until suddenly it wasn't. And next thing you know, they were throwing out new attacks, and much quicker than they've ever were before. Now, that doesn't mean and they didn't have to change these enemies radically. They kept the similar movesets, but they've added maybe one or two special tricks in their sleeves, and that's maybe precisely what maybe something like the Tower Knight needs, where suddenly he has a new move, maybe while you're up killing all of his archer buddies upstairs, you know,
Like
where it's not just as easily. Precisely.
Yeah.
Also, other changes. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry.
may,
You could continue. What were you gonna say?
So I actually don't think that they would need to change a whole lot to make this interesting. I mean, what we've seen so far with the environment is that they've done an overhaul and have made the environment more interesting and more interactive. But a lot of the players who were longtime fans of this game played through many times, and part of what keeps you going when you're playing these games is the amount of variety that you have with your weapons and builds and trying new ways to play the game. You also have co-op and PvP, which extends that experience and makes it interesting, keeps it fresh.
And challenge playthroughs.
And then you find new stuff every time you play. Like, there's still new stuff that you can find today that no one has seen yet, just because you happen to be the one that looked at it and no one else did. Like, there are still a lot of small details that are hidden, and that's part of the charm of the game. For example, the hawks that are flying around 4-1, you would never know this, especially if you shot them down. Let me rephrase that. You would never know this, even if you shot them down, because most of the time when you shoot them down, they just clip through the floor. They are extremely detailed models. Like, you look at them and they are basically on par with the best graphics on PS3. It's extremely detailed, very, very high quality enemy, and the reason that you don't see it is simply because if you manage to shoot them down, they're usually out of bounds away from you, or they clip through the ground and then you just never see them again.
Yeah.
So it's little details like that that are part of the draw, and then there's also the lore. Just, there's so much to find. There's so much to read. Every single piece of equipment, every weapon, every item has something to it that makes the world a little richer. And being able to find all of that stuff and read all of that stuff in one playthrough is pretty unlikely.
Oh, so especially with world tendency events and
exactly. That was another thing that kept you going, because world tendency could just get completely fucked up because you did something dumb, like you went in body form, got invaded, and then you fell off a cliff because you were backpedaling, and then you weren't watching where you're going, or something like that.
And suddenly that changes everything.
Then the world's darker, you miss the white tendency event, you go to the next playthrough and try to get it again. That kind of stuff. It keeps you going and gives you more things to look for.
Now that you've brought that point up, we're going to transition. Well, no, actually, I guess this is still a part of the PvE, but we're curious as to how authentic Bluepoint will keep it, as well as curious to how much they might change. One of this, of course, before diving into the pit that is multiplayer PvP balance and whatnot, the stuff that was genuinely unique, such as world tendency, character tendency, item burden, how much grass you can hold at one point in time, spices, or the fact that everything you picked up had a weight to it, so you had to manage your items in such a way. When I heard that this was the case, I was telling my friend about this, who was a longtime Souls player. He had played back on Demon Souls before playing Dark Souls, and I was saying, like, I cannot believe they had an equipment system for every little thing. You had to manage all your healing equipment, all the weapons that you carried, and you had to drop or put in a box what you didn't want to keep around. And then he was like, yeah, I loved managing all that stuff. Like, you loved that micromanagement? But I guess what we would have to talk about now is world tendency. Just an answer from all three of you. We'll start with Astri.
Okay, well,
This is something that we want to keep, yes?
absolutely. And I also wanted to touch on that item burden system. I think it is a good idea. It does give it more playthrough value because you have to think about what you are taking as strategy. You have to think about what you're bringing, what you should leave behind, and be aware that you could potentially pick something up
So much candy.
that would put you overburdened, and then you have to sacrifice something in order to pick it up, or just leave that and then, hey, it's a unique item, gotta pick it up on the next playthrough. It's not really, it's not necessarily hindering, it's more of being conscious of how you are playing through the game, and that's something that is very, very heavily themed and rewarded with the way that this game was made. They want you to think about that stuff. So if they keep this item burden system, then we are going to have a similar experience where we are going through the levels and actively looking at what we should bring, what we should leave home. And then with regard to world tendency, it does add a lot of replay value because it's something that can be easily messed up, but you always have PvP, you have co-op, and you have extra playthroughs to correct any mistakes
No,
that
I'm
you
good.
made.
I'll need some quiet time for a little bit. Thank you.
And as Abagast Lobster said in your chat, you couldn't have every weapon for every occasion, and that is a huge, huge thing because Demon Souls bosses are all about strategy. They're not about, you know, slash roll away, that kind of stuff that Dark Souls is about.
Right, the different dynamics between the two games, and perhaps the different focus with PvE and how they wanted to balance that. Next, we'll hear from. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I said
I
bosses
you.
are more of a puzzle than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
hopefully we keep that theme.
The puzzle, they're more puzzle
I
fights
think-
than actual like sparring. Well, like outside of like Old King Allant and maybe Penetrator without Bior, most of them were like puzzle fights.
But here's something. Did we for those few? I think many people are wondering what world tendency is. Like, there's more people who are wondering what it is versus people who are defending it to actually exist. So actually, I think we jumped into it maybe a bit too quickly. If we were to define what world tendency is, Green, would you be able to just like if one of you would be able to like summarize it in just a couple of sentences? What?
So basically,
Okay.
So there were two tendency scales. So there were world tendency and character tendency. How it worked was a scale for like imagine like good, white, black, bad. Basically, certain events that you do in game would shift your world or character tendency towards white or black. And there were certain events that could only occur at either like pure black or pure white. And so you had to do certain actions in order to get that pure setting in order for that event to occur. So, for example, the Dragon Bone Smasher, one of the most legendary, overpowered weapons in Demon Souls PvP, could only be unlocked if you went to the last area of Stonefang Tunnel and had pure white when you went to the Dragon God boss fight, or after you kill it and then got pure white. But that was the only way you can acquire it. So that definitely, as was said, how you need sometimes maybe multiple playthroughs to understand that mechanic and go back through it. But it just essentially unlock new areas and new things that you can only get with having pure white or pure black.
So to add to that, it was kind of a punishment reward system. If you played through the game and you beat bosses, if you were successful in killing bosses without dying in body form, or you just played in soul form and killed bosses, you were rewarded with white world tendency, which would make the world easier and make you do more damage in soul form.
And less drop rates if you're trying to farm the.
It lowers drop rates,
Yeah.
lowers souls that you gain from kills, but it makes the game easier, and it does open up certain events where you can get unique items or unique NPC quests.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take for instance, Sullen Vinland. She shows up in the swamp in 5.2 in pure white, and if you beat Estrella and then you still have white tendency, you can go to her boss room and fight Black Phantom Girl Vinland to get the brand. If you bring the crest that he drops as well back to Sullen, she will give you a ring of devout prayer, which will increase your miracle slots. So that's just one small example of white tendency. And then if you were to go black tendency, it'll make farming easier, it'll make soul farming easier. You'll get the named NPC Black Phantoms that you can fight for their unique equipment. And you can also kill the Primeval Demon for colorless demon souls, which you use to upgrade special weapons. So overall, it did add a significant amount of variety to what would otherwise be a short game.
I'm also curious if you were going white tendency and that made the game easier. You also needed upgrade materials. Did that decrease the drop rate for those upgrades?
It would decrease the drop rate for like, for example, say if you wanted to get like the pure stones, having pure white made it substantially harder to get like a pure stone to max out certain weapons, while having pure black made it, you know, it slid it so it made it a bit easier. It's not like a game changing easier, but it does make it easier.
Now, you were saying how you could go white tendency through soul form. Now, how could you go black tendency instead?
Dying repeatedly as a human in that world.
Mm-hmm. As a human, okay.
Or killing NPCs. That does drive your.
That affects the character tendency.
If you were to kill Satsuki, as shown on your screen right now, that will reduce your world tendency from pure white to neutral.
He's worth that big of a shift.
He is worth that big a shift.
Wow.
And if you think about how many deaths it takes to get from pure white to pure black, it is roughly 7 or 8 human deaths, and he is worth 3 to 4 of those.
Wow.
So that is how significant it is.
But so though you just said neutral, so does that mean that there's 3 different world states? There's white, a gradient. But what I'm curious is like, is there like breakpoints where you could say that, oh hey, you were saying earlier that this was pure white, this was pure black, but then somewhere in the middle there was neutral. Like, is there a certain point where, oh, now these people are going to appear in my world. Oh, now this is when the Black Phantoms show up. You know, et cetera, et cetera.
Pure white, if you were to say kill Satsuki, going to neutral, there is no change except the enemies get a little harder. You start getting more drops, and the balance between blues and reds is perfectly equal. They don't get any benefits over each other at neutral world tendency. At white tendency,
and when
you get blues that are heavily favored because they get a damage boost while Black Phantoms get a damage nerf. So overall it is significant in the regard that if you get invaded in pure white tendency, it's going to be a hell of a difference from getting invaded in pure black. In pure black, you're just going to get destroyed.
And this is also, so this is Black Phantom AI, and we're not talking players, right?
That's well, the NPC Black Phantoms don't start showing up until you get to like -1 or -2, maybe -3 world tendency. You start getting Black Phantom enemies, like the Rolling Skeletons. But then in Pure Black, you get the named NPCs, and they are really, really tough. They have a lot of HP, and they hit really, really hard.
And
Black
they're usually cows.
Satsuki,
He's a
Black
cow.
Phantom Satsuki will one-shot you in New Game Plus. If you're in Phantom and you get hit by his katana, it's a one-shot. So you'd better have second chance, or don't get hit.
And I guess now that you bring that up, there is a distinction between world tendency and character tendency, and I guess this is where we now see each area in the Arcstones.
So character.
So how Shrine of the Storms is now darker, but the character themselves is not as white and not as dark.
Yeah, character tendency.
This is where that distinction.
And that only affects your soul form damage or your damage in co-op or PvP. So
and some weapons also scale with character tendency. Like
right,
Northern
the Northern Regalia and the Brant family of weapons are character tendency scaling, but practically speaking, character tendency has no effect on your gameplay as long as you're in body form. It's only when you're in soul form.
I know there's like a health penalty for Pure Black in soul form as well.
Yep, there is. So,
Dang. It would probably... wow, there's a lot.
The main thing about character tendency, the only thing that it actually affects when you're in body form is it opens up specific questline things. Like, if you have pure white character tendency, you can go to the Monumental and pick up the Friends Ring.
Friend Ring, yeah.
If you have pure black, then Mephistopheles can show up after a certain point.
And the Foes Ring is available to you.
And then, yes. So it is specifically for PvP. If you want black tendency, you can go for PvP to get that Foes Ring, and that is the best ring an invader can have.
Because then as an invader, you have the Foes Ring gives you more damage.
It is 20% damage boost with a very, very slight defense boost, and it affects all damage. It's not just physical damage, it is all damage. So it is extremely useful. And then, of course, you want Cling if you're in soul form. So that's basically how the ring system breaks down for anyone who's going to be invading or in co-op. You can swap Cling for something else for higher damage, like Ring of Magical Sharpness or Master's Ring, but it's generally not recommended because Cling means more HP, means survive more hits.
Better survivability, yeah.
But what I was curious also to say the distinction. I just want to make sure I understand this before we continue. So just because you change the tendency in the world does not mean that your own character tendency has changed all the way.
Correct.
Some events overlap,
okay.
Others don't. So it just depends. Like there's a whole list of things that will shift both or just one. It's really like one of those things you gotta like just go to the wikis and just see like what are the actual changes on it. It's really complicated if you don't really have like a sheet in front of you that tells you what everything does. Just to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Character.
Well, I'm curious if they'll leave that in for the remake. Just all that long list of this is how our world tendency works. Blue Point, get on it, and then now they have to be like, what?
I'm quite sure that they have looked at it and they understand it. It's just a matter of are they going to put the effort forward to get it in there. And also with regard to character tendency, the simplest explanation is it's kind of like the sin system.
Karma.
But it is more relative. So, killing black phantoms boosts your character tendency. Resurrecting phantoms like blues boost your character tendency. Killing NPCs or killing hosts or blues as an invader, black tendency shifts. Karma, basically.
Right. And it could be individual between each zone as well.
Character tendency tendency falls.
Or no, well that's Canada tendency.
Look,
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
more
world
universal.
tendency
Okay.
is each zone, and from what I've read, tendency shifts in World 1 from killing the 2 dragons will affect other worlds as well. And if that's the case, and hopefully they keep it that way, you have the option of fixing your tendency. See, Black Phantom's
offline play.
Mm-hmm.
one shot right there.
Yeah, he one shot as a soul. Oh,
That's another thing.
wow.
I wonder if they're gonna touch on with like world tendency. Are they gonna have like the server wide thing where when you log on, it like averages all the active player servers to give you that, or you can like turn that off and because like imagine because like with world tendency to get the events, you usually had to play offline so you can more fine tune it without worrying about oh man I logged off I was so close to black, let me turn it on, and then like shift it all the way back to like white. And you're like what?
Yeah, that was a
Or-
definite problem with the original servers. Is there was a world tendency that they had on the server that would affect your tendency.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not always to your benefit.
Yep.
If you were trying to go for pure white tendency and you logged out and logged back in, it would shift your tendency toward whatever the server tendency was.
Yep.
Which was almost always at +1.
Mm-hmm.
+3 is pure white. So
yeah,
you go from +3 to +2 if you log out, and then that's it. That's your white world tendency event. Gone. And if you log out again, you're back down to +1. So it was a very frustrating system, and it was really only because of the way they synced your tendency with the server. I think it should be optional, like how it is on the private server now. Or they should
or give more I wouldn't say like give more events to shift, but like give you the way to, I won't say lock it, but like say how, for example, like you can't, if you kill all the bosses and do all the things, you can't really shift it to white during that current playthrough. It's easy to shift to black, but shifting back to white is near impossible or impossible for certain worlds after you defeat all the bosses. So it'd be interesting to see if they like have any like either quest lines or something that can like, hey, you know, why don't you like kill like I don't know 100 skeletons or something, and then like boop you up one or something. Not I'm just making up an example. I'm not saying that's a you should do that, but
I think that the resurrect miracle was kind of meant to be used for that, but the problem is you would have to be a host to use resurrect, right?
But if all the bosses are dead, then you can't.
And then
summon, yeah.
And then one possibility for shifting world tendency that they could do is make it so that if you defeat a boss in co-op with someone, that shifts your own tendency.
And so it'll affect your own world by helping someone else's.
Right.
Okay.
So
I wonder. No, continue.
I was basically done. I was just going to say, so you basically promote co-op through this method with the incentive of boosting your world tendency and gaining body form back.
So couldn't that also apply for invading too? That if you want to shift to black without having to like repeated suicide, invade, and that might.
See, I think it would actually be better if it shifted your tendency white.
Even if you invaded and kill hosts?
Right, because it would provide you the incentive of doing that. Like you have the option of being good or being bad, but both have the same outcome.
But I mean, I would feel like that would be very juxtaposed to the character tendency, how it like rewards helping versus negatively punishes you for killing people. So I think that might clash there. Maybe. I mean, I have to see it how it looks in practice before I even say anything.
I have just a sorry. I have just a slight tangent here where we see our player backstabbing this AI, right? Notice how the camera is getting clipped by the rafters up top.
Yeah.
because of the wide angle backwards. In an outdoor setting, this would be no issue, but indoors like this, that is a clear issue. So maybe having the camera in closer when we're indoors, like a camera that knows when you're indoors, will start to close in on you, like what was happening earlier. I just wanted to make a note of that because we do notice this when this happens, but I don't know if I don't know. It sounded like maybe Scorch was about to say something. I don't know. I heard somebody.
I think I was gonna say something, but I don't remember what it was now.
No worries. I guess to add to the world tendency from my perspective, now that y'all have said that it was server wide across other different players, what you just said earlier, where it was optional, they could include that in as a setting, saying, "Hey, do you want like just flip it on and off?" Either, well, what I mean to say is that either you can have it be, I don't know, if we were to set this setting arbitrarily, solo or all, or maybe with other players, and then you click one of the two for the world tendency to start working with the other players that you would find out there, and then it would go from there based on what other players were doing. My question then would be, which players would it connect you to? And in what fashion? Would it connect you to everybody in your region? So everybody in North America gets put into a server, everybody in Japan gets put into their own, et cetera, et cetera. Australia, where do they go? Do they get cropped in with Japan and New Zealand and
So
stuff?
as far as I know, the way that they designated it is you had 3 regions, right? You had North America, you had Asia, and then you had Europe.
Europe, yeah.
And all of those servers were separate. They did not communicate. So the way that they did the server tendency thing is they did a server average. They looked at the average tendency of all the players, and it was usually +1. So that's what it generally rested at.
I'm curious, just really quick, Astri. I was curious if the average is +1, is that players playing currently, or would that be players who have just made a save but then left the world tendency on +1 and then have, dropped the game and haven't picked it up ever since? And maybe that's why the average always goes to +1, is because maybe people made saves and never completed them, or maybe is it because people are actively playing and that just so happens to be the lucky average because everyone's around 0 or -1 or +1, but they never go all the way in one
More
direction?
likely than not, it was just tallying what it was based on the last login.
Interesting.
Alternatively, they may have just set it so that it was always +1. Because there were events where they did change global tendency to pure black, usually for Halloween, and pure white for Christmas. That was traditional for Demon's Souls specifically. They had those world tendency events that brought players in every year for the same holidays, and honestly, it was a really nice system.
It's actually really cool. Yeah, that's actually really cool. I never knew that was a thing. That's very neat of them. I'm curious if Bluepoint in Japan studio would be willing to do something similar, maybe for the first 2 years or something, just to keep with tradition.
That'd be cool if they did. Yeah.
Very cool. What world tendency? There's a lot going on here. A lot to talk about. If we were even talk about specifics, but long story short, for those of y'all who are either joining us or who need a quick summary, as we go from world tendency to the more hotly debated topic of PvP, world tendency and character tendency, in a short summary from everything that I've read and talked to with these gents, is that every action that you do in the game itself, you might not think it's worth a lot until it suddenly is, and suddenly your world can become harder but more rewarding. Vice versa, it can become less challenging with less loot drops, but with different character interactions altogether, with different items showing up, with different weapons. It can make you better with friends. It can make you worse against invaders, etc., etc. It is such a unique mechanic that is also heavily complicated, so much so that if you would try to just begin to open the encyclopedia of World Tendency, someone might just suddenly snooze immediately. But seeing it happen, play out right before your very eyes, is something that is very unique to Demon Souls. And I would think most of us would hope that they would stick that unique mechanic in there. And if they had to change some things and they had to drop and let some things go, that they would make that they would keep the general scheme of World Tendency there to keep that unique thesis statement that you could say that FromSoft came up with in the very beginning. Now we're going to transition into the meaty one, the meaty talk about everything that we've seen so far. How will this transition to PvP? We're gonna go down the line, but already from what I've seen, there's some things that I have questions about as somebody who has seen gameplay, who has seen the best players, who's seen a bunch of players and played through almost every game, excluding Demon Souls, that From Software has made. And now I am ever so curious about two things. In the gameplay trailer, they show us going behind this enemy right here. And this seems like an instantaneous backstab to me. And I'm very curious if they're keeping instant backstabs in, because this definitely appears to be one, unless this is just a flourish backstab that is for the purposes of a trailer. As we said earlier in the stream, there are probably some mechanics in play that aren't going to be in line with how the game actually plays out, such as the camera angles, such as you one-shotting every enemy you come across, and maybe this instant backstab that appears to take hold. Because if anyone who's played Souls, particularly Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls, and has seen an instant backstab, it looked like the character was running straight forward, their motion uninterrupted until it suddenly stops on a dime. The enemy player seems to easily transition to a backstab animation well enough, but the player character did not. The rest of the animation appeared to be very fluid. If we go a bit further, before we discuss it a little bit further, I just want to also say the instant parries as well with this Blue Knight also seem to be immediate into, which is just a great riposte, by the way. But Scorch, I believe you're going to say something.
Yeah, one thing about that backstab I think we should take note of is what attack that enemy did when it got backstabbed. You notice it's a jump,
which was a leaping jump.
It's a jump attack. Like, I don't know. Usually you have there's quite a bit of recovery on something like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can really judge that too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was like Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 2, the 2-hit confirmation backstab, where you have to at least hit them with one portion, or you have to hit them with what effectively is the hitbox of your weapon in order for the backstab to go through. And since the enemy was stuck in his animation, then the attack did go through.
So my worry with instant backstabs is if they are going to take the direction that Dark Souls 1 did, where it just automatically locks you in that backstab animation, then we're going to end up with PvP that is identical. You're going to have players that are just reactively fishing for backstabs because it's going to be easy and punished.
Why the question of why does everyone stab me in the back? Because it's easy and it does a lot of damage.
And I think that the reason that the reason that Demon Souls PvP was not super backstab heavy was just because you could iframe it. You still got sucked into the animation, but it did no damage because you could iframe it. And I think that was an important part of how the game played PvP wise, because it meant that you were not instantly punished for something that didn't happen on your screen. You roll away on your screen, you shouldn't get hit with the backstab, right?
Yeah.
That just makes sense logically. But something that Dark Souls did is
Mhm.
they said, "Oh, you got backstabbed on my screen, so it's gonna backstab on your screen, and it's gonna do lots of damage."
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they should do frame one backstabs like what they showed here, but I really,
Mhm.
really hope it is not an instantaneous backstab that will also vac.
Yeah, that also bring people back
Back.
into the backstab. Well, what other people were saying in chat was if you rolled, you could actually deny all damage altogether in a backstab, which worked in the Demon Souls meta 11 years ago. But now in the year of 2020, if you see someone roll away from a backstab, still let them be sucked back in, but not receive any damage. In the year 2020, with a game of this of this quality of graphics, it's gonna look incredibly jank.
Are we allowed to have
I
that
think
jank right now, or does that was that part of the charm of Demon Souls to have that type of thing?
I mean, good question.
I don't think people would like that too much at all. I mean, for me
and I would hope
that. I don't think that would bother me too much, but then again, it is a remake and they're trying to keep it nice and polished. So I highly doubt, they would keep anything quote unquote janky, especially since, it's remade from the ground up too. So a lot of that, I just don't see them leaving anything janky.
Might have even more jank or different types of problems. I mean, I guess we just have to wait and see how that looks. Honestly,
I guess oh no, it's going to be a launch title. I was about to say I wonder if there was going to be a network test of some kind, but no, it's and again, mark your calendars, folks. November 12th, PS5 comes out, and also this is apparently a launch title for the new console as well. Hold on, we were. Oh man, again, this is where we got to be careful of. Just talking about two mechanics in general, such as an instant parry and an instant backstab, we can easily transition to talking about, oh hey, that would look janky, but that's part of the charm of the old game. But then we have to wonder, we've gone 11 years from this now. There's got to be some advancements or some sort of new mechanics that would bring out this old game to modernize it, but not, I guess, lose its identity, I guess one would say, because it's one thing to be charming because like, oh, like I love you because of despite of all your flaws, right? But it's another thing to say I genuinely love you because of how the mechanics work and not because of you grabbed me from halfway across the realm. I remember, just another quick note, fishing for backstabs and Demon Souls would be harder because there is no poise. That is also true. This game plays a lot differently than Dark Souls will as well, straight off the bat. In fact, I've been told many a times by people who play Demon Souls is that it plays a lot like Bloodborne. And hearing that, I'm like, huh? Interesting. That actually like has me raise an eyebrow and has me wonder, that actually sounds neat to mine eyes.
I would say that the pacing is similar, but you definitely do have a different dynamic. It seems like the level of aggression that you can achieve in Demon Souls is very, very high, and it's something that is very much rewarded. And I can't say the same for Bloodborne because backpedaling is very, very strong in Bloodborne. Backdashing is very strong in Bloodborne.
Oh, I guess let me ask you this question. Would you say Demon Souls backpedaling is at its weakest in the Souls series?
Depends on the conditions. If they have a shield up, like the Dark Silver shield, which is flat busted, then yeah, they are definitely rewarded for it. But if they try to do it without a shield up, or if they do it with a shield up that can take chip from what you're using, then it's overall not much of a threat. It will still be pretty easy to counter.
I mean, yeah, I mean, all the games have their issues, honestly. Like, I mean, you can't.
Of course.
It's kind of like when people go, "Oh, this game like is the most, this game's the most balanced," but we had to ban all the shields from the tournament to make sure that it's balanced now. Like,
we're just gonna have to wait and see.
all the games have their, all the games have their problems, whether it's like some crazy glitches and whatnot. You got DS3 bow glitch. You have
Have to bring it
Demon
up.
Souls has like the cursed dragon bone smasher with the broken talisman beast or whatever. All of them have their own deals. But you got to remember with like something like this remake, it's gonna
God,
be
what tournament
totally
is this?
different.
What tournament did you bring up?
I bought one from 9 years ago. The layout looks very interesting. They are only allotted 3 grass to use, and then I believe that's 2 additional spells. Which one are those? I can't.
I agree with.
Yeah.
I
I mean, they're definitely rolling like it's Bloodborne. That's what it looks like. But that this is so interesting to see because I'm curious if this is what the remake might look like. People just rolling around like nuts. But I guess we're getting a bit too ahead of ourselves.
I agree with.
Well, you can finish your thought.
I was
Scorch.
just gonna kind of going along with what you said, and what I'm reading in chat, G9 has said like it's not gonna play anything like. I don't think combat wise it's gonna be very. It's not gonna be too similar to how the original's PvP was. Like I think it's gonna be just a different animal. Obviously you're gonna have some similarities, but it's not gonna be like Dark Souls remastered level of originality, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it's gonna be a different animal, and since it's Blue Point remaking it from the ground up, it's gonna be even more different. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be even more different than you would normally like if you look at Demon Souls through Bloodborne and on DS3, sorry. A lot of them share the same glitches except for DS2 because that one has a different engine and whatnot. But they all share a lot of the same glitches actually. Like Bloodborne has ghost strikes from Dark Souls 1.
What
whoops.
does it even benefit from having ghost strikes?
Against one build, the Raider Shield, and that's it. Like it's like. Anyways, that's another point, but. This is something new is what I'm trying to say. Like this is a remake from the ground up. So a lot of that stuff that we're used to seeing or that we've seen before is not gonna be the same.
Right. In which case, some things not being the same. The way how powerful shields were initially in Demon Souls, I wonder if that will carry over to the remake, or will Blue Point, whoever is in control of in control of the quote unquote balance, right? Will they have looked through the archives of footage and looked through the forums, seen all the additional comments of how like these shields were too much, using these weapons were too much, the scraping spear, the storm ruler, etc., like insert weapon here had this OP quality to it, or one shot you with a running R1, etc. Will they all have a look at that and think, okay, how can we keep the identity of these weapons, the identity of like how can we still keep the storm ruler knocking people around like it do, but not have it do it so well and crazy? Like how can we?
It doesn't do a lot of damage.
Fire.
Yeah, God. Yeah, it doesn't do it. It does psychological damage. What it does.
I remember when I played with a friend. He was teaching me the PvP, and yeah, I still have nightmares about the storm ruler sending me across the room.
And you're like, help!
Oh my God.
Get me out of here! And then you just be stuck there for an hour because that's all the time they have in the world. But that's what I guess we're also curious about is since this, well, we've said that Bluepoint is that this is their new engine, that this is going to be like their own creation almost, and yet they're emulating. If we were to go back to the remake footage, this is new. This is a new engine that is imitating. I use imitating in a good way. Imitating Demon Souls gameplay with so far from what we've seen with the current one-handed, two-handed moveset is that they're trying very desperately to mimic the movesets that have come before, as well as even having the enemies do the same attacks that they did before, as well. But besides what we've said earlier in the stream with the PvE changes, like, man, we might want to see a couple of bosses with maybe a few more different attacks. What if different moveset changes for weapons that the player uses is necessary? Maybe, weapons that don't come out as quickly. Honestly, so seeing this in 60 FPS, maybe it's just my eyes. If somehow we were to take this clip and just change it to 30 FPS, the attacks might seem faster. I know that a few folks have said that the backstab animation, the riposte, and the normal attacks seem to come out a little bit slower, but this gameplay is in 60 FPS, so we're seeing much more information on screen. The attacks may appear slower. It probably is not the case, but let's say they go that route and the attacks are I can't even go off of that hypothetical because the movement just seems to be as fast as Demon Souls was. This is just in different FPS. Let's see, what else am I so curious? There's so many things to talk about. Since this is an RPG action game, there's so many ways that... there are already so many ways that the original Demon Souls could have gone wrong and technically did, but it broke like a glass sculpture. But the picture that you saw on the ground of this broken sculpture made its own new picture. Like, rest assured, it was broken, and if you stepped on it in the wrong ways, you're going to cut your feet. But it still looked nice when you saw it from up top, right? And there was stuff about the RPG, the RPG element, the way the AR of some weapons did too much, the way some weapons just bullied you around too much. Then there's the action part of the game, such as the backstab animations we were talking about, such as the instant parries. The should some weapons have this moveset of this kind? If we were to dip a little bit further, go slightly to a different topic, but still remain on PvP, we were talking about player limit and matchmaking. Now, I have seen this. I apparently have seen this through the webs from the game listings on Best Buy and others. They have said that this game, online multiplayer, like they like to have this stuff, 2 to 6. Whereas before, how many people could you have in one world? Max? Now that is a different change. Suddenly you're gonna have, if we were to assume that this is true, suddenly you're gonna have one player with 3 phantoms and maybe 2 invaders, right?
Versus 5v6.
Oh yeah, that's right. The 5v1 G9. You know this. You know you're gonna get ganked by a 5v1 day one. You know that's gonna happen. But another question, if we were to go a step further, right? Matchmaking, will password matchmaking make a spectacular return, because that's something that has also appeared in Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne.
I'm sure it will, honestly.
Okay.
And Dark Souls Remastered edited it too over the original Dark Souls. So I'm pretty
That is
sure
true. Yeah, that is also true. I'm sure it'll come back, honestly. I'm sure it'll be there.
All right, so we got a couple topics here that we're kind of mashing together, and I think we need to kind of break them up and talk about them individually. The maximum player limit, it looks like it's going to be 6. So, like you said, there's going to be the potential for 5v1s, and I think that the way that they can avoid that is making it so that summoned dreads are not hostile to invaders or each other.
Interesting.
I think that would be a good safeguard against that sort of thing, because that's major problem that I've seen in Dark Souls 3. Like, if you're fighting a 5v1 where they've got 3 phantoms and three phantoms and then an embered summon, and they're all chasing you down, you the invader, how do you win against that? How do you win against those odds reliably? You can't. So hopefully they take that into consideration. And
just to go off that point, I was going to say that in Bloodborne you could have 2 adversaries in the Sinister Chalices and they couldn't hurt each other. So there's already some blueprints for Blue Point about how to perhaps go about integrating this if they chose to do so. But honestly, no, actually, I'll not continue that thought. Astri, you go.
Okay,
continue.
So something to think about is that when you increase the player limit, you are effectively reducing the odds of the invader having a chance at taking any one of those players out.
Mm-hmm.
And you also increase the odds of them being able to grief invaders back to back.
Yep.
Something you could do in Demon Souls that you couldn't do in the other games is instantly banish them. Okay? Banish is a miracle that sends an invader home. All right? I highly suggest you look up a video of Banish and how it works. If you had a 4-man group surrounding the spawn point, 3 of them could have shields up surrounding you on spawn so that you cannot escape, while the 4th casts Banish and there's not a damn thing you could do about it.
And you lose a soul level just for...
And you lose a soul level for doing that.
Yep.
So think about that for a second. They can endlessly grief that way. Like, there's no escaping it. They can they can guarantee that they will banish you simply by surrounding you, making sure you're locked into place long enough for one of them to cast Banish, and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it.
But then that's also, that brings to the question of how they're going to treat invasion spawn points. They're going to do like Bloodborne, where it's like very dynamic, how you appear where you were standing in your world, or they're going to have fixed spawn points. I feel like that's going to be the question on how they're going to deal with that.
I feel like they'll probably use fixed spawn points because Bloodborne is Bloodborne's the only one that ever did that. So that where you could kind of choose where you invaded.
And it's worth mentioning that Bloodborne did not have a working invasion or co-op system at the very beginning, because they were still working out those details on how they were going to make it so that it was proximity based instead of, I placed a sign here, I'm going to be summoned from this spot.
Oh, I also thought about if they're doing that, red duelist griefers. Ooh.
That was always a problem, and that's another point of the discussion that I brought up with having 4 friendly players in a session. They can grief those summoned reds the exact same way.
Yep.
Griefing it will always be an issue in these games because it would so difficult to account for, because any idea you thought of, someone else is just going to think of a different one.
The only difference is this is one that they would be introducing.
Yeah, that is correct. Because of the increased player count, they would either they would probably have to just, I mean, again, this is a new engine. They might have included new invasion spawn points. What originally happened in the first Dark Souls one was where, depending on where you hit the red eye orb, you would spawn relative to that location. It wasn't just Bloodborne's. But what they added for Dark Souls Remastered was, no, it didn't matter where you hit that red eye orb. Your spawn location was going to be as close to the host as possible.
My first invasion experience in that game was, I'm like, I'm going to try an invasion in Township. I spawned in with 4 guys around me with Gold Tracer, and I was dead before I even... I was dead before I could do anything. Because the bleed was proccing
Here-
before I was even fully summoned in. So by the time I was fully in, the bleed procced and they're all hitting me. And it's like, wow.
Oh no.
I was laughing so hard,
Did
but it was like,
just-
holy shit. Yeah, Tranquil Walk of Peace. Yeah, that was. I
Okay,
think
get
one of them
away. You're just
casted
gonna
that
take-
as well before they
take
started
this L.
spamming.
He's taking that
no,
out.
no way to escape.
Yeah, even like the DS1 PvP community does not like Tranquil Walk at all.
So, looking at your video that you've got up, Jam,
From-
they were.
By the way, this is from Peverson himself. He was trying to banish Reds who came into his world as he was ganking, which is
You'll
hilarious.
notice they were
by the way.
unsuccessful in casting it because they got backstabbed every time, right? Or they got hit by something.
Mhm.
If you've
Because
if
in no
you have
plays.
3 players surrounding that red is powerless to hit the host while they are casting banish because the host can
Mhm.
be 5 feet away from the red and they're not touchable.
Yep.
So definitely something to look at, and hopefully
There's a will, there's a
they
way.
make it so that you are not in a fixed spawn point that can just be camped.
And I guess another thing to consider, at least in Dark Souls Remastered, I don't know if this was the case in Dark Souls 1, but there was backstab protection. At least when you got out of spawn, you couldn't be backstabbed and you couldn't backstab anybody else, which I don't know if that was intended. I don't know if anybody in chat is aware of that backstab protection existing in the original game, or if it was just included in the remaster. But I am curious if maybe Bluepoint has thought of maybe a spawn protection for a similar protection for either invaders or phantoms when they come in, and maybe something further. The invaders or phantoms can't maybe damage people when they come in, just so that way if an invader killed a phantom over and over again, they can't just come right back on in and do the dirty deed that they've been doing for 20 minutes already.
Well, what they originally had is they had a 15-minute cooldown. Or actually, no, it wasn't even timed. Basically, if you got invaded and you killed the invader, they could not invade you again so long as you were alive in that world, which is kind of a self-balancing against invaders that are griefing. But how do you stop a host who is just reloading the area every single time? How do you stop a squad from just camping your spawn point, your exact spawn point, unless they make it so that it is either dynamic, like what they did with Bloodborne, or they make it so that you have something like what they had in the Dark Souls 3 arena, where you spawn in and then you have a shockwave that blasts everyone off their feet, and that's it. See that?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Get away.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, just like the arena, which some people in chat are wondering if we're gonna get an arena for Demon Souls.
6 Archstone, Land of the
That would
Giants, PvP, just mosh pit.
I mean that would be pretty neat. See, Peeve actually got the banish on a red.
Right,
Wow.
that red should have tried to backstab him, but
He just caught in a bad place.
This was what, 2015?
2015.
So yeah, maybe that red was just panicking.
We can assume,
but yeah, he could have been backstabbed, but you wouldn't have that opportunity if the red was surrounded, and that's a major worry that I have with increasing player limit, because that's just imagine Dark Souls 3 if something like Banish existed, where you could just send someone home and that's it.
And they lose
Reddit
soul
would
level,
love that.
so-
Oh jeez. I wonder if they would add like any additional parameters to it, like only this person could use it, only the host can, or maybe only the invaders could use it to banish phantoms away.
Banish was only usable by the host, so it is limited in that regard. But spell swap made it so that anyone could use it.
Oh god, I forgot about spell swap. But
there it is.
I mean, you got to consider that's. I mean, at least that. I mean, that
it's not
very
likely.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not likely, but it is definitely something that they need to think about. If that's something that they were able to do, then it would be completely busted. There's no way that you would be able to get away from 3 players or 4 players using Banish in rapid succession in your general vicinity and just nuking you, basically.
Yeah, I mean, something's remade from the ground up, like as we said, like it's like almost guaranteed not to be a thing, unless like for whatever reason another glitch that's just very similar manages to appear, which I don't see happening, but
it's unlikely but possible.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Something I'm also curious about now that we brought up player limit is this gonna be organic? Like you can bring in 3 people as a host and have 2 invaders invade you, or will they add in a dried finger like item that will unlock that second invader, that will unlock that third phantom that you can have alongside you? Considering the fact that there was that, again, I saw this picture, y'all might have seen it too, I could probably pull it up again, of this Reaper Scythe that was apparently going to be a pre-order item that you could get for Demon Souls, in a similar vein that Dark Souls 2 had a bunch of pre-order items that you could get as well, like the homunculus mace and the what was it, the black flame stone dagger, that really long one that everybody hates. But stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
speaks to me that they're adding new stuff, so I wonder if they were going to add new stuff that perhaps the newer games had, like having a dried finger.
You also could take into the possibility that they might actually remove some of this stuff too. Like, I wouldn't doubt, something like Banish might not even make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then what do you use the Yellow Demon Soul for as a miracle?
They could replace it. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you never know. Like, they're already taking some creative liberties, so
they would have to think about what they're replacing it with. Because obviously, it's not something that's absolutely necessary, but it is something where if they put something in, how is that going to affect everything else?
The cascade effect.
I mean, they're going to have to already worry about that because they're adding I mean, from what we've seen, they're adding the Scythe, and so, who knows what else if they're adding that, then they're probably adding some other stuff too, At least, I mean, I could be wrong on that, but it just doesn't. It seems unlikely that they wouldn't add more if they're already adding something.
Just looking at all of this again, I wonder if maybe if they've talked to somebody, or maybe they already have a list of need to fix and or change in some way, shape, or form. If we were to list all the weapons that would need changing, if we were to list all the spells that would need reconsideration, right? Are y'all reacting to what you're seeing, like with what Peeve's doing, trying to banish people?
No, I'm reacting to the list. Trying to list.
Oh, the whole list. Well, of stuff that they would have to consider, or again, not straight up change, but get a look at these things again for their new environment that they're trying to create. So one of the things that we actually see right now is Old Spice, I can't believe it's actually called Old Spice, but the spice items, the grass items as well. You can have 99 of those,
and then fresh spice on top of that, have almost 200 MP restoring items.
Yeah, so you could just keep healing until the chickens start, until early in the morning, right? And that's one of the biggest complaints about this, and that's why for Dark Souls 1, they included Estus, which was refillable, but much more limited. You can only go up to a certain amount, and you had to upgrade it over time. And that is something else that I bet a few people are curious about. Would they limit the amount of spice you could have? Would they limit the amount of grass you can have, et cetera, et cetera? For that, would that be a good thing to limit those things? For the three folks that are here, Green, we could start with you.
I would say that when it comes to like managing like items and stuff, it would be an interesting take on it. Though I think that when talking about things like cascading effects, if you had limited items like status effect builds, like with baby nails and plague clouds, those would definitely see like a huge resurgence. Because if you limit the amount of like darkmoon grass people can carry, then it's gonna definitely favor status effect builds, and they're just gonna run over people. So I'm gonna say it'll definitely keep the idea that okay, we can't just sit here and pack like 99 of the grass. But another thing when it came to that was you really only saw like 99 of each grass as they had the dupe glitch. So
I mean, you could effectively buy 99 new grass.
You could also do that. Yeah, if you farm the souls to get it. So it would be interesting. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be interesting seeing how status effect builds will be affected by it. But yeah, no. When it came to like base invasions, you can sit there for hours and you'll just be chugging hundreds of grass and just be like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Fine.
It would be nothing but what you're just seeing. That is, if the two players are playing as perfectly enough to get those heals off and not be punished for it. But then again, the grass and the spices were extremely fast because you just chomp it once and it was over, versus the Estus later on, which became a lot slower. They had to basically slow everything down for Dark Souls 1, but a lot of the, I'm just going to call it charm, from the previous game still carried over with the new mechanics that they came out with Dark Souls 1, such as passive poise, but instant backstabs were still a thing. The net code was still a thing. The node system with connecting people was an issue. But, you couldn't heal as fast. Besides instead of duping your Estus, you would now just get your humanities, because the invaders and phantoms couldn't do that. Let's see. For Scorch and Astri, I guess we'll start with Scorched. If there were any alternative to grass that you could see them doing, would you rather them keep the grass as like a finite consumable, or maybe implement something like they had with Estus? Maybe you can go so far as to say that they want to increase or decrease the chomping speed, I guess you could say. You can go.
It's kind of a difficult one because, that one's a bit difficult because that could kind of change it. I mean, they could do something, keep it kind of original where it's, like a finite amount, but I really don't think we'll be able to carry 99 healing consumables in this remake. I mean, is it possible? Yeah, definitely. But I feel like they're definitely gonna mess with that. They're gonna change it. Whether we get something more similar to like the Estus, I'm not sure if that would. I wouldn't change it to the Estus, but whether we get something, a bit more similar to how that functions, where you only can carry a certain amount, and once they're gone, and you don't really pick them up. You just kind of you refill on them when you rest at or not rest, but you use an arc stone or not. It'll be interesting to see.
Then it would
how
be
they're gonna
interesting
handle that.
Yeah, then how would you unlock the new grass types? Because, like, for example, there's certain quest lines where you can unlock some like the later, rarer grass types pretty early on in the game. So if we did like a consumable bag type of thing, where it's like Estus except like with grass.
Yeah, it's just a bag. Yeah,
A bag
full of grass. Yeah, this bag can only hold 2 grasses.
2 grasses at a time. Oh,
you got raided by Pinko, by the way, Jay.
Oh yes. Welcome, Raiders. We're talking about Demon Souls and what the remake might have. Talking about PvP currently. We were talking about PvP earlier. World tendency, the whole shebang. Specifically talking about grass at this point. Grass in Demon Souls, if y'all weren't aware, were extremely fast to heal you. They were the finite. You could even say like original blood vials before the Estus existed, except you can have 99 of them at a time, and there was different types of the grass. Some that healed you to half health, 80 like about 80%, then to full, but then healed everything, including any ailments you had, and you can have 99 of all of the above. It was
People
nuts.
got mad about blood
You can
vials, and they had no idea about the grass.
Hundreds
no
of
idea
grass
about
just in your bag.
And they thought blood vials were okay. I'm not gonna get on this tangent, but they thought blood vials were unpunishable, but heal parries existed. But you know, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Because I know I'll get stuck down that rabbit.
Well, so the
rabbit
best
hole.
you got was if you saw the heal, you can probably go for a backstab punish in Demon Souls. It's like
like even maybe, but the heal was so fast
if they
could get the heal off, and you just be
out of it. So yeah,
that's true.
I have fought battles.
But go ahead,
I've
Astrid.
fought battles in Bloodborne where the blood files were absolutely not punishable, and it was only because their net was so bad and their latency was so bad that you'd shoot them to parry, and it was like, oh, you shot like 5 seconds too late. Sorry.
You could say that about like all the games, though. If somebody's laggy, like you're not gonna be able to like backstab punish them like the right way. Like if they're just really freaking laggy, like it's kind of a problem in all the games. Like
VPNs, everybody.
Yeah,
VPNs.
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff in all the games. Yeah, like an actual ping filter would be nice. Like,
yeah, that's what we were. I believe. I think Astrid and I were talking about that. Like having like a minimum like ping that you have to have, unless it just like automatically DC you from it. Because like, oh my goodness.
Now that might be a bit too much. I don't know if that's even in Blue Point's pedigree and for them to know. Like again, a ping filter would be just the money on the ticket, right? For a game like this. But who knows the kind of money that they would need and the amount of time that they would put into it. Rest assured, they've been working on this game ever since Shadow of the Colossus finished, which was 3 years ago. But I would settle for a more rigorous region lock where you could decide which regions to connect to.
Like in JM's Elden Ring video. Please watch it.
Oh yeah, shameless plug. But if we, still being serious, if we were to like just divide up the regions, like say, okay, I want to connect specifically to North America, or if we can go even smaller than that, west or east. I probably won't get that small because the amount of interactions that you can get in this game are already going to be over time. They're going to average out to be only like a few people, or like maybe a few tens, maybe a few hundred people for a soul level. We haven't even talked about soul level matchmaking yet, but just staying on the region locking, right? This idea of I still don't want to connect to people halfway around the world, and I know that they don't want to connect to me. And the only way to at least cut out that ailment, one could say, of not being able to punish somebody and them just hitting you endlessly, and oh wow, that was a wasted fight of all sorts, is by giving us something, giving us that region lock, giving us a ping filter to where we can only connect to people that we would know would at least have a much better connection than to somebody who just so happens to live on the moon. Or maybe on their screen that we live on the moon, but that's just because they're on Wi-Fi or something. I don't, so many little minute details about this. The last thing, we're gonna start. We're in the twilight of this stream, but we're not going to end just yet. The next topic we talk about, I just mentioned it, was soul level matchmaking, weapon level matchmaking, something that they've included in later games. Does not exist in Demon Souls. Not at all. So if I get this right, you can have a max level character level with soul level 1.
That's only on the private
That's
server.
only for the fan servers because they removed the level matchmaking caps.
Yeah, the official.
So wait. That was something that the fan servers could change.
The official servers had a 10 plus 10% on your level. So 120 was effectively invading 142 at most, and then invading down to 100.
But there was no weapon matchmaking, so someone with like a base level weapon could encounter someone with like a max DBS.
Yeah,
So
And then just
basically the same
throttled.
as DS1, DS2, and Bloodborne.
mhm.
How
If
they
you want,
handled it.
Yeah.
if you want more footage to show on Screen Jam, I sent some in the group chat.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
with regard to grass, I do want to bring up some of these concerns that were brought up in chat. Blessed infusions for faith, they regen. So if they do limit grass, they are most likely going to need to touch on faith builds because they can regen a ridiculous amount of HP per second. The most you can get without the regeneration miracle is 18 HP per second, which is nuts if you think about it. That's just passive regen that is ticking upward constantly. And that's going to heavily favor faith builds in the long run.
because of how powerful Blessed is. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would
So much
damn,
regen
that's not-
stack.
compared to what Blessed Fusion was in Dark Souls 3. Wow, that is so. You have to like wear 3 of those things. Two things on both sides, and have the princess ring, and then oh no, you have to use the Filianor chime, and I don't know, use another one. And, oh no, use a regenerative faith spell, and then you just might get 18 HP per second or something like that. Yeah, that would have to be something else to consider. There's also cursed weapon as well, just doing as much as
We
it
probably
did.
won't have broken talismans or anything like any of those types of glitches.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a lot of this stuff is likely to be changed. Like I could see how regen like could slip through the cracks, but a lot of this stuff like cursed and even then a lot of this stuff is likely going to be changed for better or worse. Not sure. It's hard to say, but I do picture a lot of this stuff being altered in some way.
So originally we were talking about the soul level matchmaking and weapon level matchmaking. How tight do y'all think it should be? Should it be something similar to what they've had with Dark Souls 3 and the remastered being the most recent examples? Because they have tweaked those. Remastered, they actually tweaked it to be similar to Dark Souls 3, in it being that you can only really ever invade somebody who's about, maybe at the higher levels, someone who's about 10 levels below you, but then upper levels, you can get someone 20 or even 30 levels. If you're like at level 100, that's about where it starts showing up. We'll start with Astri. Do you think this soul level matchmaking should be much tighter in this game?
I think that the 10 plus 10% is fine. The actual difference in stats for Demon Souls was smaller because you didn't have multipliers. Like, if you think about Dark Souls, you've got things like the Mom Mask and Ring of Favor.
Mm-hmm.
Demon Souls doesn't have that. They have the Cling Ring, which is only for phantoms. And that's it. So you don't have HP multipliers that can potentially make things... kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. So basically, there are no HP multipliers. So any change that they make is going to be significant. But if they try to do a different matchmaking system, if they make matchmaking wider, it is going to have an effect, but it's not going to be as substantial as what you get with Dark Souls or Bloodborne.
As for the weapon level matchmaking, that should be in as well.
Yeah, so there was no weapon level matchmaking. You basically had Krestock / Northern Regalia twinks at low level as invaders. And yeah, they were extremely powerful. They would destroy you. easily.
Mhm.
Like one backstab, you're dead. That's it. Good game.
Mhm.
10 plus 10% is a good range. I think what Bloodborne did with allowing you to invade 50 levels up and like 20 levels down, I think that was ridiculous. And with how the runes multiplied your HP and visceral damage and stuff like that, it made it a bigger problem than it would have been on Demon Souls.
Oh,
Okay.
and then speaking of password, I just thought about something. How do you think they're gonna handle debuffs?
Oh,
yeah,
overleveled.
overleveled friendlies.
That's something they haven't seemed to be able to get down. But then again, this is also Blue Point, so
What if they have that Dark Souls 3 glitch where you can come in unnerfed?
Yeah. So
Right. Oh, I mean, considering this is a new engine, that glitch, or no, let's be smart here and call it tech, will probably not be a part
exactly.
of the engine. One would hope, right? Because maybe they've accounted
it's
for
very,
it.
very unlikely something like that would reoccur.
But yeah, that's. I mean, I'm willing to understand the position of, hey, you have a player who doesn't want to start a new character all over again, but does want to be there to help a new friend who starts out as a host. Yes, the password is that convenience, because over the years, Dark Souls 1 did not have that. Demon Souls, well, was free spirited in a way. Dark Souls 2 was then like, no, we have to limit this, but we're going to limit this to soul memory, but that's all we're going to talk about, soul memory. And then they give you a name engraved ring as well to increase the range in that aspect. And that's something I've wondered as well, where instead of maybe having a password system, you could have a way to extend your range out to find somebody that you want to match with specifically, but doesn't give you the opportunity to get a max level phantom for the host benefit, because that, as we've seen in the countless games, is a bit much. But if by some way they find a proper solution, a proper algorithm to severely nerf the the high level phantoms who get drawn in, then by all means take it away at Blue Point. But in other instances, that's something to watch out for as well. But we can most definitely, I'm definitely betting on the fact that they will have a convenient matchmaking, such as password. Let's see, Scorch as well. Of all the Souls games that have had different matchmaking, which do you think that Demon Souls should emulate the most?
Probably its original.
Probably its original way with matchmaking.
Well, I mean, as far as like the levels, not necessarily like weapons or whatever. Weapon wise, I don't know. They'd have to figure that one out, like exactly how they would want to manage that. They're probably what's probably gonna happen is they'll probably use something similar to what what DS3 is using. I mean, it seems like From was kind of they were kind of experimenting with it in the DSR and such. So,
well, DSR was actually left up to QLock for much of it. It was with. Yeah, that was in their control. They added that in there. But for Dark Souls 3, they did change the matchmaking system, at least for the lower weapon matchmaking levels. They made it much tighter than how it used to be. You could have a, +8 weapon invade, +5 host. Yeah. So that was nuts, but they then made it a lot tighter. So beforehand, where a +2 can invade someone who wasn't unupgraded, or who was unupgraded, they now changed it to where 0 can only match with +1s. That's as high as they can go. +2s can only go with +1s and +3s, and you really didn't break the normal barrier of going up +2 until you got to +4, and then suddenly you can still only invade down to +3, but you could go up to +6. So
Yeah.
and that they changed like a year. Must have been a year and a half after the game was already out and the DLC was out, and then suddenly we're like, "Oh, look at these changes that are happening," and then that was it.
Then there's the conundrum with like weapon matchmaking. Demon Souls had a lot of weapons, like boss weapons in particular, that as soon as you got them, they were already like their max proficiency and they couldn't be leveled up any further. It's like Northern Regalia. Once you got that, it was just straight up what it was going to be.
You also had the Soul Brand and Demon Brand, which were non-scaling, extremely powerful, large swords that did ridiculous damage. I mean, we're talking about 480-ish AR on a non-scaling large sword, and
doesn't need to be upgraded.
it's not even upgraded yet. It hasn't reached its full potential, and it's already that powerful.
It's a lot.
I wonder if you were to grab said boss weapon, suddenly that jumps
It's
you
not
up
even a boss
in the
weapon.
matchmaking.
It's something that you find in
no. Well, something they did have in DSR that Kulak did introduce was as soon as you picked up a certain weapon that was infused with a special infusion, that did jump you up in the weapon matchmaking. Like for instance, the lightning spear was treated as a +10 normal Titanite weapon.
Okay.
So, but the thing is that people who got to Sen's Fortress, relative, if they were good, then they got to it relatively quickly. Next thing you know, now you're opening yourself up to be invaded by +15s or +5 chaos, great clubs, or no, excuse me, the crystal great clubs, and you just get sent to another loading screen if you ever were human. So, now that we bring all of this up, that would just require, at least in my mind's eye, such a if we were truly trying to protect the experiences of new players so that they wouldn't exactly get throttled by a twink with such powerful weapons, then they would have to just make a totally different game. But that's the thing about Demon Souls, is that it was this scrappy young blood action RPG with a whole bunch of dreams and not a lot of time and money to do it, and they still followed through, and it still captured the hearts of people around enough so that they were able to make Dark Souls out of it, and the rest is really history. So what Bluepoint is doing now is just trying to effectively not reinvent the wheel, but well, I guess they're kind of they're like, they took a picture of the wheel and now they're making their own wheel to make it look similar to the old wheel, but they're not trying to make it as creaky, make sure it doesn't fall in the same potholes as the first one. And yet at the same time, if you keep changing it, will it still be the same old wheel that everyone is so fond of? But if we look at just my last statement here, if we were to look at Dark Souls Remastered, it was Judas who wrote this great tweet, who said, pros and cons of the Dark Souls Remastered. The biggest con is that it's the same clunky piece of shit, but the biggest pro is that it's the same clunky piece of shit. So for nostalgia's sake, people are like, we want this the same way as it was. But are we willing to sacrifice that nostalgia? Because Demon Souls is still in its original form right here. If you have a PS3 lying around, if you were to go buy it, a used one, and pick up a copy, then it's still there for you to play. If you were to pick up an emulator and have a powerful enough computer to play Demon Souls, it is still there for you to play. This remake, though, on the other hand, has this possibility to see that same old game in a new light, like that looks familiar, but is not, and could potentially be that new experience for everyone involved. Like a familiar but new experience for old players, such as you three in here, such as Oroboro, Peeve, Saint Riot, Pinko, you know, all of them, right? But for a vast majority of people, they're coming in this blind, they're coming in this new, and maybe they don't want to be hit with a scraping spear or have all their souls taken away from them because they were AFK, and next thing you know, they wonder why they're soul level 1, and all the black phantoms suddenly appear out of nowhere. Big quandaries. Let's see. Are there any other particular topics that any of you three have thought about and that you want to bring to the forefront now?
Okay. Just my one thing. Like this is so petty, and I will admit this is the most petty thing I can say. But the "you died" screen made me mad because of how bare bones.
Oh yeah, the font. The font. Here, we can have a look at that
like,
font
it doesn't even have the
and be disappointed
about, like, you know how in the original Demon Souls it would say like, "Oh, you died," and then you're like locked in soul. Like, it doesn't have any of that. It's just, oh my goodness.
You're gonna have to have the speed transcriptor from those commercials that read out all the side effects to the medicine that they're trying to get you to buy.
It looks pretty bad. They might change that though, since a lot of people have voiced that they don't like it. You know, they seem to have changed Flame Lurker. They seem to have. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is true. That's also a possibility, but.
I need to see that original death screen really quick. Oroboro die. Okay, he's dead. And cue the screen. There it is. So the original one was this one, a lot more ornate. The lines around the text were just straight up JPEG pictures of like elegant overlays, right? But then underneath is, however, the Nexus traps you. You shall remain in this world as a soul forever. Though, as you can tell, they put the text there, but it wasn't actually formatted to fit in the blackness of the "you died" screen. So they would have to effectively make this look better as a "you died" screen. And I think that's what this "you died" screen is missing, is a darker background to, accentuate the point that, oh hey, you're about to hit a 1 second loading screen, and I hope it's a 1 second loading screen. That'd actually be really cool. Now that we think about this, on PS5, apparently these load screens will be hella quick. So when you invade people, when you get summoned, when you died, not even 2 seconds, not even 1 second, half a second, you're back to where you were, and now you get to enjoy or hate the game again wherever you are.
That's the thing though. Because I'm thinking about that. If the fast loading, like, imagine, right? You want to get back in the action, but you died to like an environmental thing as an invader, and you lose a level, and you want to get that level back because you might have lost your range. Ooh. Even with fast load times, they don't do anything about like the level penalties for, like, I don't know, getting killed by like a dragon or something.
Oh, right. Oh, if they change something different about the world. Yeah. Scorch, do you have any topics that you want to bring up now that that's come to your mind as we've gone through this?
Not really. I mean, overall, I think I've covered, I've said what I wanted pretty much. Like a lot of this.
Well, we've covered as much as we can in the short time we've been allotted, right?
I think we're gonna be surprised by a lot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say. Like, this is gonna be a new animal.
A familiar new animal is what it is. And then Astrid, is there... I know that, so something that y'all should know, I've linked this before and I'm going to mention this again. Astrid does have his own video entirely on the subject. Here, let me actually go and find the link to it as well. He goes a lot more in depth as well. By himself, he is able to talk about just as much from his own perspective right here, what Blue Point needs to consider. If we were to click on that, just the entirety of it, it's It's just under an hour, but he talks about effectively the same things we talked about here. Just brushes up on everything that would need to be considered for the remake team. Maybe even if they weren't considered, would Bluepoint look at what their game has effectively become and come back and update it, such as maybe if they come out with no weapon or soul level matchmaking, will they add it after the fact? Or maybe if a weapon's doing too hot in PvP, will they nerf it later on? You know, all these. I wonder if Bluepoint, Japan Studio, whoever's the live team for this game, will continue to support it for more than just the first couple of weeks or even the first couple of months. Seeing that FromSoft continued to support Dark Souls 3 for a year and a half, maybe 2, before going on to their next projects and much further projects as well. But besides all of this, Astri, is there anything that you would like to bring up before we begin to wrap this up?
Well, for a start, I could probably talk about this for like another 2 hours, but we
sure.
do not have that time. I know you guys don't have the stamina for something like that, but I guess I can give you a short list of points. I think that they need to think about how password summons are worked into this. If they do password summoning, I think it should be something like a filter instead of something that allows you to have an infinite range. Because unless they get those downscaling formulas correct, we're just going to end up with another Dark Souls 3 where you're fighting, big boy Havels who are two-shotting you with Lidos and shit like that.
Well, what is the Havel equivalent in this game?
There is not really a Havel equivalent.
Yeah.
You don't have very important armors.
And there's not really like poise and like
right.
hyper armor, sure, but
hyper armor is
weapon
tied to your weapon moveset. So you're not going to have a huge focus on armor. It practically means nothing. But the problem with password summons is if they allowed password summons in Demon Souls with the same downscaling formula that they had in Dark Souls 3, you're going to have max levels using light weapon meat cleaver, one-shotting you, and you're just going to have to deal with that. I don't think that's something that anyone wants to really deal with, to be honest.
Hope for the best, expect the worst, maybe. So Gabri in the chat wanted me to ask what would be the best spot for, I hope I'm getting this right, the Universal Fight Club area.
Storm.
What would be the best spot?
Shrine of Storms. Unless...
Well, 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1 is the best place, but if they make the restrictions on the summoning for the monk a little more stringent, it's possible that 3-1 would be a very good place for it because it has some open spaces that are really good for PvP. It's where I hosted a tournament a long time ago, and it was really nice. It was a spellcasting tournament, and the contrast of the spells against that dark environment was just so nice. It's a really good PvP spot, but it needs to be done in a very specific area, and it's kind of hard to get to. So, end result, 4-1. That's basically it.
4-1. Good to know. G9 says, I prefer 5-0. Also, just a quick note on 4-1. This is potentially what it might look like with a bigger storm, apparently lightning striking trees and setting it on fire, moving the trees. They're going to add a lot more flair to the maps as well. The fact seeing the King of Storms and the stingrays flying above and such a dark storm approaching seems so incredibly hyped to me that has me like wondering so many things. What I'm curious about, and I guess I'll ask all three of you, is what, let me see. If there, how can I phrase this? If there was, if they added in more gestures, would y'all be okay with that?
You know, it's gonna become toxic if they add a point down equivalent. Like,
Demon
Souls did not have a point down equivalent. The best you had was like shrugging at people. That was like the best.
Like, what was that? Yeah, I know the shrug. Honestly, having a shrug is the best. The fact that there is no shrug in like Dark Souls 3 is a freaking sham.
You know, that is probably the most touched on thing in the comments on my video, is the fact that I covered gestures and how I said that I would prefer if they didn't add gestures that had potentially negative connotations like point down, because only going to result in a more toxic PvP environment.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
Because yeah, there really is nothing besides I don't know, maybe kicking their body while they're down. Is
you don't even
possible?
kick, you push with your
Yeah, like in Demon Souls, what was interesting in Demon Souls was there's no like universal like guard break or kick. Each weapon had like a very unique shove animation. Like,
oh, see, now that's cool.
Like a great, like two-handed, like the ultra great swords. They had like a half sword thrust, which I was like,
Right. That's neat to know. Also, just the unique movesets. Like, not everyone does a kick. Some of them do this, and that. That's also neat to know as well. That's,
yeah, there are two classes of pushes. There's the weapon push. That's like a smaller weapon push where you just push forward with whatever's in your hand, and then the larger weapons have a push where they drop it to the ground and then they push with the hilt.
Yeah, also curved swords and cool. Rapiers had actual offensive attacks though too as well.
Yeah, they had their own special attacks. Basically, just like Dark Souls.
I just had flashbacks of the Hands of God headbutt shove. Oh my gosh. There's so many unique little things in Demon Souls.
Infinite stunlock headbutt. Should that be kept in? Obviously.
Yeah, of course. What was it? The buff your fist item and then headbutt and then it does damage and then you just stunlock like old King Allant to oblivion.
Oh yeah, probably Oroboro. I fought him. He was streaming for the last night of the official servers, and he invaded me. He invaded me 5 times. The first time he invades me, he bows before he grasses, and he's like, "Oh, that was rude," when I hit him with a spell. Like he was calling me a dick, and his chat was mad at me, and then by the end of it, he was like, just up in arms, like probably standing at his desk with his arms up in the air, like, "Wow, that was awesome!"
Oh, fighting against your mage.
Yep.
That's right. Do you have that video available?
I do. Hold on, just
is that because I'm gonna try to look for that on.
It's a good one. Let me
on here. Because I remember you did send that to me, and I'm like, dang, that's a good way to turn around favor with some players. Because at first they might be like, oh, what are you doing? But then you show them how cool you're really doing, and
he was
like,
actually defending me against his chat. It was hilarious.
I know, because chat knows everything. We know this, right? They have to be right about everything.
Where is
a farewell with Ouroboros at this one?
Yes. Farewell with Oroboro.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, they were being shut down. Damn, it's already been now it's almost going to be knocking on the door of 3 years since the initial servers were shut down.
Sad times.
Oh yeah, you shot him right when he went for the heal.
I saw that. For the audio for this one. It's just great.
Let him have a free hit.
He was so upset at first, and then He was, of course, talking some shit, but then later on, he was just
Of course.
Oh, hey!
completely in the
I was
moment,
healing. You dick.
just loving
Okay,
every
fine, let him
minute of
have a
it.
free hit. Let him have a free
Mhm.
hit.
Let him have a free hit, he says. And then he gets hit again.
Oh my god.
He still sounds the same. Wow.
I forgot how fast
Get him
magic
with
is
it.
in this game.
Wait, he forgets how magic is in this game? I thought that was not
Oh,
the case.
combo.
I think he forgot that magic is not meta, not even close to meta.
Mhm.
So
Yep. Well, I guess this is something for us all to learn. We get to all learn the new meta
Second
together.
chance. GG.
For better or for
Yeah, that'll
worse.
be nice. That'll be
For
kind of
better or for
nice.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice to learn the game
It
again.
likely won't be exactly the same.
I
So
probably should have just healed on him.
something
for
new
him,
to
but
experience.
that's okay.
God dang it, Astrid, that big freaking... what do you call that head?
that's the monk's head
That
wrap.
helmet.
The monk collar,
monk's-
that thing. Oh boy, the tornado head.
It's just a mushroom head, is what it is. Tornado
Yep.
head?
Yeah.
God. It is so
was-
huge.
it was on the-
I hope they bring that back for you.
There's
So
the
that
light
way the
It's very iconic.
Jeez.
I
Oh yeah,
imagine
he's
it'll
gonna
be-
try.
It's pretty
All
iconic.
the clipping
I
in the
imagine it'll
ground
be.
with that thing. Oh my goodness, I miss it.
The reason why I wanted to bring it back is so that if you try to use it with the new camera angle being
Oh,
so low, it will
God.
actually impede you playing.
I've gotten used to playing
He's
around
trying.
it.
He's trying to get
Wow.
through.
It's hard,
Oh,
but
crap,
you
dude.
have to do a lot of manual aiming because locked on you can't see through that thing.
Damn,
Of
that
course.
was
No,
like...
I mean that's what I could tell from all your gameplay. I'm like, how do you play with this? This is nuts. Like I could still not play with the normal like Xanthus head of Dark Souls 3, 1 and 2. It's just that this big mushroom. Here I paused it. Gabri brought up the consistent backstab escapes. I think we were talking about this earlier about how you could escape backstabs very reliably. What was needed to what did you need to do in order to escape backstabs like that? Did you have to press circle
Nah, okay,
at just
so
the precise time?
normally what happens is you just roll out and then you get pulled back into the backstab, but what happened here looks like it was because of lag. Most likely because of that cloud that they cast, because particle effects like that will affect your frame rate and will cause lag. Like you can see an obvious
Oh.
skip in this guy's
in the
Yeah.
net, yeah. Because suddenly, as soon as he knocks him down, the player jumps over. You can see it for a split
Yeah.
second. He's rolling away, clearly going to the other side of this area in 4-1. But then the net's like, no, you're over here now. And then suddenly you're back over there. Instant transmission.
exactly.
That's great. Gary says, I see, so embrace the lag. VPNs. Desync. This is what we said before. Region lock, ping filter, please. We're on our knees, for the love of God. Closing remarks. We've talked about a lot in just a short time span of 2.5 hours. We're all incredibly excited to try this game. Some of us are excited to play it for the first time. The others are excited just to play it, just to see what else is new. Like, for instance, this spider. We were talking about PvE changes earlier. This seems like a new attack. I see folks saying that the spider usually does a gas attack, but now you see
I
oil
think
on
it's
the
a
ground and then
attack.
light it.
I think it's the same attack. I think it's a retake on how the attack like mechanically works.
Yes, it is.
I don't
It's
think
the
it's
same
Mm.
attack. It's just instead of it being like a constant stream of fire from the spider's mouth, it is the
Mhm.
spider spewing an oil that is creeping across the ground.
And then it lights it on fire.
Which is neat. Do y'all have any objections to seeing that in action? Because in action, when I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's a cool looking attack. Not just mechanically speaking, because it warns you like, oh hey, maybe this oil on the ground is bad luck, but then aesthetically pleasing because then it lights everything on fire. And I really hope that they optimize the game well enough that when all of these particle effects, all the fire is on screen, it doesn't tank your FPS like what would happen in
they
Bloodborne.
did say they're making a frame rate version, so like might dull down some of those effects if you want to focus on that aspect of not tanking.
Or they might dough down graphics, like at a distance. At a distance, characters or enemies might look 30 FPS. If y'all have played games like Monster Hunter World or even in this would happen in Dark Souls 3 as well, at a certain distance you will see enemies or players suddenly appear in lower frame rates because that's the game trying to save processing power. Seeing stuff like this is incredible to my eyes. How will it play? Honestly, that first playthrough will probably feel really magical. That is until I get invaded the first time. Then I'm sure my opinion will change, or maybe it will continue for the better.
Oh, until pure Bladestone farming. Oh, hold up, what?
Oh god, we barely touched about the farming aspect. Are they going to change the upgrade systems? Are they going to streamline it in any way, or are they going to Lord have mercy. I wonder
topics that were in my video, right?
I know, but there's a lot that 4 people would have to like this is the whole discussion roundtable of like we all have our own viewpoints and ways of looking about things that just lightly talking about the upgrade system, I'd almost be curious to see if they just streamlined it in that, oh, hey, if you want to get these certain items, there's a merchant for that you can buy rather than having to farm for that stuff, because that would be
Dark
nice.
Souls 3
That would be nice
like
to see.
You go through the default path, but like an infusion gem or something like that to represent the... Maybe. I mean, they'll streamline it so substantially, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that looks.
Mm-hmm. But now we're gonna come to a close. Closing remarks from all of us. First, we'll start with Astri, who again has an entire video on the subject. I'm going to show it as well right here. What Bluepoint needs to consider for the Demon Souls remake. Look this up. Look up. Just type in Astrich Souls on YouTube, and you will find it immediately. And Astri, for your last closing remarks on this remake, mostly hype, mostly concerned. How do you view the next month and a half towards November 12th? Will you be getting a PS5 right off the bat to play this, or will you be waiting?
So I have mixed feelings about it. I don't know if I'm going to go for a PS5 right out of the gate. I think that I'm going to reserve judgment, just because that's a lot of money. That's a $500 investment. Plus, it's another $70 for the game, and that's if they don't release a deluxe edition, which they probably will.
Oh, geez. I have not considered the deluxe edition.
They're probably going to release a deluxe edition, and I would expect that to be anywhere from $90 to as much as $120.
Wow. Why do you think it might be a deluxe edition?
Well, it's something they did for Demon Souls. For the original, they had the Black Phantom edition that came out, and
like the art book and stuff.
And then they had the art book and stuff like that. And that's something that's been very popular lately. So
okay,
I think that we're going to get a deluxe edition, probably not at the same time. It might come later. And then you also have to consider your PlayStation Plus subscription, which is going to be another $60 unless they increase it again. So that's a lot of
overlapping with the PS4 though.
It is a lot of money.
Like if you have a PS4 and you still have, would it overlap with that, or you have to get a separate?
Yeah, if you have a current subscription, it's going to move over to the PS5. It's just paying for a year of gaming to play one game online is just going to be crazy.
But isn't Bloodborne getting either not like a remake, but like maybe like a slight upgrade?
So
port.
What I'm told is that Bloodborne is not going to have any changes. It's going to basically
just be a port,
emulated through the PS5 and as is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is all that we know so far. Lance McDonald, who has already, who is basically, we could say, is a semi-insider or knows a lot, knows too much than one man should know about these things. He has corroborated that, at least through the grapevine. He's heard that there isn't going to be any update, but there is the possibility for it. The reason why we bring this up, for those of you who don't know, there is going to be a PlayStation Plus collection where if you own PlayStation Plus and you buy the new PS5, you suddenly gain access to a dozen plus PS4 games, including Bloodborne, Monster Hunter World, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Infamous Second Son, the God of War 2018, like a whole bunch of really great PS4 games for free just because you own the collection and you own a PS5, which is just neat. And all I'm going to say on this before I totally flip off a whole rail about Bloodborne being on PS5 and the new activity that might bring is that we have to also take into consideration, does this mean new updates for this and that in the future? Does this mean that, just like what Astri was saying, will there be more stuff for Demon Souls, like a collector's edition, like here, have an art book, here, have the, music, which they're also tweaking, by the way, that we've heard in the trailers as well, which to my ears sound great. And that's not going to be the same for everybody, but I really enjoyed the sound of it. That seems so. I like it a lot, but who knows if they'll come out with that extra, that little extra that you can get. Astri, was there anything more you wanted to say before?
Let me think about it. I don't think that there's really anything left to add without going into a bunch of detail on mechanics, like what are they going to do with spellcasting? That's a huge topic that I'm very very concerned about, but overall I'm just kind of in waiting, and I'm not going to hold any further expectations because I don't want to be disappointed.
Keep expectations low. That is a good point. Let me go ahead and ask Green now. Closing thoughts. Are you more excited, concerned? Where's your hype level at from everything you've seen? And we are, again, a month and a half away. Will you be getting a PS5 for the remake of Demon Souls, or will you wait patiently just to see what others say?
I'm probably going to wait to hear like some of the reviews and some of the early responses on what people are saying about like the PS5 performance. If there's any like catastrophic failure issues that it has, and wait for like maybe a new line. If those, I don't think there's might be that big of an issues, but I think definitely waiting, because I'm sinking a lot of money just for a catastrophic failure is going to be problematic. So I'll wait a bit on it. But specifically for things I'm excited for, I mean, look, as the guy who like does like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne movesets in real life, I'm just kind of curious on mostly that, because it's like I like talking about the like historical aspects on like, oh, this is based on these real life techniques. So I'm definitely curious if they're gonna mix up things or like add new movesets, so I can, I guess talk about those things. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to.
Gotcha. I'm also gonna show off your channel as well. Let's see, right here. The Knight of Green has a lot of videos based on the different art style.
I saw that.
Yeah, I could have sworn I was subscribed already. God damn it. But he does so a lot of his videos are on the weapon movesets of the different games. Not just in Souls, but of elsewhere, but he likes to go in depth about them. So, it takes a nerd to, of all of us, it takes a bunch of nerds like us to talk about what we talk about. And for him, it's talking about the movesets, especially. If you'd like to check him out, go check him out here. In fact, I will go ahead and put that link into the chat as well.
But,
because I know, continue.
But, just a little off topic, but one thing that I'm working on now, if people are interested, is I'm working on Sword Saint Ishin from Sekiro. So I've done things like
Oh yeah.
Artorias, Gurman, Gale, the Abyss Watchers. Like I literally recreate their moves in real life. Like it sounds ridiculous, but it takes a lot of practice. So I'm in the process of doing Sword Saint Ishin. So I'm like actually studying with someone who does the actual martial arts, the ninjutsus, the kenjutsus and stuff. So I'm actually like immersing myself in the real world martial arts and then using that to translate to, okay, how can I make this look more authentic to the character and also to real life.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so move sets for me. I guess that's the summary.
Right. And then there's a lot of content for this too. A whole big playlist of 52 videos. Go ahead. Go ahead and give them those watches, y'all. But that's good to hear. Thank you. And now Scorch for you. Scorch Knight. We're gonna pull up his channel as well that I'm sure I'm not subscribed to. Oh look, I am subscribed. There we go. I fixed that. So for Scorched, he is he also plays Souls, specifically in the specifically in the Bloodborne department. Scorch, where are you at currently with everything you've seen from Demon Souls so far? Have you like hype? Where's your hype level? Are you also getting excited? Will you be getting a PS5 to play Demon Souls on November 12th? Even if the pre-orders are suddenly all thrown in the pit, but where are you at?
I'm pretty hyped about it. I think it's gonna be great. It'll be interesting to see how they change everything and what will remain the same, what won't. It'll be interesting, to compare those two things. Overall, I'm pretty hyped about it. As far as the PS5, I'm gonna try and get it. I actually tried pre-ordering it. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I do plan on getting it relatively quick. I'm ready for some new stuff. So
yeah, because Lord knows that we all have been
I've been a
waiting for that certain
Bloodborne PvP degenerate for way too long. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is rotting in my skull as we speak. No, I'm ready for this. I think it's gonna be great, and
ready just for something new, because this is exactly what the game is. It's a new Souls game. Whether that's good or bad, time will tell, right? Gotcha. But I will also close this on my own remark as well. Looking at this, I haven't pre-ordered yet because I knew the pre-orders were. It seemed the situation did not seem right to pre-order it, and it turns out that a lot of the pre-orders were just fumbled beyond all imagination. So I'm gonna try and see. But see, I'm still going to attempt to get Demon Souls and PlayStation 5 as soon as I can, again, if it's possible. For a lot of people, that asking price is a bit rough during these times. That is incredibly understandable. I've been saving a pretty penny for moving on, and this is that time for that pretty penny to be spent. I hope, but Green brings up a good point. There is probably that first line of consoles that potentially might have defects. Lord knows that PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360s had them. I didn't have any issues with my beginner PS4, but I can't say the same about the Xbox One with its Kinect. I didn't own one, but I had heard some stories. Man, it does feel good to have a date on something. When this was first announced back in June, I suddenly had the realization after it was announced, like, damn, we have 2 games to look forward to, and none of them have dates. But now, this one, a launch date coming out this year, now Here, let me type in days until November 12th. Oh, it already is there. 54 days.
Wow.
54 days, and in about an hour, it's about to be 53.
Wow.
So we're
pretty
getting
hype.
there. We're getting there to the new, to the glamorous. When it comes to the month in between now and then, October, I don't know about y'all, but I got some spooky Bloodborne happenings, like events that I think I want to partake in as well. Saint's got some spooky Bloodborne events that he wants to partake in as well. And as soon as that spooky Bloodborne month is over, 12 days, 2 weeks until we get that new something, whatever it may be, good or bad. At least it will hold us off for at least
Elden Ring.
At least until maybe the rest of the year. I mean, if it was the worst case scenario, how long would this game last? Like, because the Dark Souls remastered probably lasted a month and a half before stuff started tanking. But how long would realistically would this last on a worst case scenario? It comes out on November 12th. Month and a half would be New Year. Next thing you know, we're in 2021.
Look, where's Elden Ring at? Like, that's probably be how long this is gonna last.
Yeah, oh, that's probably how long some of us are gonna make it last. But I think at this point, if Demon Souls flops in some way, like in a big way, like let's say it's good PvE, but it flops in PvP, and people are like, oh, I'm going back to Dark Souls 2. Oh, I'm going back to Dark Souls 3, or whatever. I think at that point, I feel like I'm just probably just gonna take a break and just try other things, like I have
Mortal
been,
Shell or something.
but or you know, other things like, oh hey, Devil May Cry looks nice. They got a special edition. Time to try out Virgil. That looks great. What else? Hogwarts. Ew. Oh yeah. I hate Bloodborne. I love Spider-Man. Let's do that. Saint Riot says Code Vein challenge runs.
God,
oh, that's
no.
neat.
No. Wait, yo,
No.
Night and Green, didn't you make a video on Code Vein?
Yeah,
on
I
the
like roasted the
DLC, and you like
absolute mess.
roasted the shit out of the DLC. That was like one of the
Oh
best
shit,
videos
where
ever.
is it? Night of Green, Code Vein. Here, I'm gonna have to save this to watch later. Which one is it? Is it the fight guide?
Code Vein DLCs are just like you just see a
There it is.
monster.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, there it is. All right, I'm gonna have a look at this. What, five dislikes? I wonder who those
Probably
are from.
people who wasted money, but you know.
Glorious to know. Again, we're going to be wrapping up now. We're about to hit that 3-hour mark. For everyone who's shown up tonight, Popesley, Ramu, Mudshark, Chronic, Saint, Gabri was here, G9 was here. Who else did we have? Ziggy, Rambe. Who else? Everyone dashing was here.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I would also like to thank Astri, and I would also like to thank Scorched and Green for I was initially asked to be a part of all this, and I was actually incredibly flattered and honored to be a part of this talk of what will potentially be I would hope. I'm gonna be the optimist and say hoping for this a good experience that's gonna be coming in less than 2 months. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for having me here.
Before we end, I think it would be a good idea to share the Demon Souls Discord link so that people can go there and try to connect to the private server before the remake hits. I highly suggest you get some playtime on.
Sure. Do you have that link, Astri? I don't think I have
right
it.
now.
The one to get
Go ahead. Oh, if
DNF
you could drop
to,
it in there.
Because I know there's like a lot of things you have to do to get to that.
All right.
Yeah. Astri also has a video as well to get a part of that.
And it's a little different for emulation because there's more setup, but it's overall still not bad.
So there's that Discord link. That's primarily for the Demon Souls private server for those who want to be a part of co-op and PvP. A lot of nerds in there who could talk about much more in depth about specific things if you want to learn about it. Other if you want to nitpick all the little minor details you've seen in these trailers, or maybe what we've talked about in the stream, go right ahead. But thank you all for showing up. Thank you for being here, and for chat for contributing for the talking. Again, thank you 3 for being here as well. Here's to the future, whatever it may bring, and everyone take care of each other. We're going to end the stream now. Though we're going to go on a raid. Who the hell is on though?
We got Kirby streaming DS2, Commander Swede streaming DS3,
yeah.
Damn streaming Bloodborne.
Damn, it's saying
I was gonna
Bloodborne.
probably switch over to Dark Souls 3 Invasions.
Oh, I mean, Astra's
Look,
already
y'all
here,
friends.
so yeah,
Y'all
you may as
friends.
well raid
I
him.
might just do that on my own though.
Oh,
Going back to Demon Souls. Let me put that back in my PS3. You guys trash.
I mean, if you're gonna transition, I could still raid you, and you could do invasions. That's fine.
Well, I would need to set up my PS4 and all that stuff, so it would take
Oh, okay.
probably
Well,
about 10 minutes to get that ready. So,
gotcha.
you guys-
Okay, no worries. No
you guys
pressure
can-
then.
You can go ahead and raid, well, whoever you feel like.
Let's see. You know what? I guess we'll go. We'll go Pester Dam. That's what we'll go Pester.
All right, sounds good.
To tell him the good. Do you know if Dam is a Demon Souls player?
no, he's never played it, from what I know.
Damn. Literally, damn. Our Kirby. Does our Kirby play Demon Souls?
I think he might have.
I know that Stray
Hmm.
Curtis did, but I don't know about Kirby. I think he might have.
Kirby. You know, it'd be very fitting to raid someone who's also a big Demon Souls nerd. Kirby absolutely plays
go.
Demon Souls. Well,
There's your
all right. We're gonna go bug him. This is exactly what we're gonna do, chat. Again, thank you all for being here. Oh, he did beat all of Kingsfield. I do
Damn.
remember seeing those streams. So
Oh,
that
so
is
he's
right.
like OG. He's like beyond.
The
Yeah.
old school.
Yeah, that's right.
Powerful.
Very powerful. Here, I want to end to the sound of the Demon Souls remake music from the announcement trailer as we get the raid ready. Let's see.
You should
God.
play the video of Slab yelling at his screen about how excited he is about Demon Souls. Have you?
Slab? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Screaming.
Wait, hold on. Demon Souls, hold on. Do I just type in Demon Souls Slab?
I don't know.
Slab reacts?
Probably.
Oh, God. Wait, is he the one that, like, nearly breaks his mic as he's
Yeah.
yelling?
It's like one of the funniest shit ever. Oh God! Prepare your ears, everybody.
Oh, no.
Everyone be cool.
Oh God.
Okay, alright. We're rating on this
Oh my
one. We're
God.
rating on this one.
Totally forgot
Alright,
about it until we started watching the trailer.
Okay. Jesus, wow, that is loud.
I think Sunlight Blade actually put it in his like top 10 reactions, the Demon Souls remake or whatever.
Oh, I can't even talk.
You can't even
That
talk.
was so funny.
I'm trying to keep it
He's
low.
yelling at the screen the whole time.
Fucking good.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
So good.
Bless him. All right, y'all. We're gonna go raid Kirby. Thank y'all for being here. Y'all have a good night. Take care of
How's it going,
yourselves.
guys?
See ya.
Love y'all.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Go ahead.